Fear not, I am here, and I will be back at 8 o'clock. I'm just doing one or two things.
Evening all.
Good evening. I'm so overloaded with so much information. I'm just waiting for it all to fall into place.
Oh, it will. Don't worry.
Thank you.
You get there, well and truly.
Why don't you do a round of tapping?
Pardon me?
Why don't you do a round of tapping?
Oh, yeah. As I said, you know, so overloaded with information. I can't, I have to bring forth, I have to look at my mind's filing cabinet to bring forth that's needed. Maybe I need a session for me to be okay with it all, to bring it all forward.
No, it will all fall into place, trust me. I've been on plenty of Alex's seminars and events over the years as first of all a student, and then obviously sitting in the room as his assistant, discussing many things over the years. And everybody says the same at first. They go, oh, so much information. Don't forget, you are only at the beginning of day one of a standard seminar.
Yeah.
You've only had one day so far. You're halfway through. Roundabout, probably I'd say halfway through today, everything will suddenly go, yep, and it will.
Well, thank you for that motivation.
It's, no, it's there's a lot of information. It's not like some of these courses where they sort of spread it out over the course of
a
week or several months, and out a couple of hours per week over the course of a year or anything like that. This is intensive.
Yes, yeah. That's
the best way to learn.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Intensive. And you know, if you want to listen to the replay, that means, you know, you're 2.5 hours, 3 hours of the day gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then reading all those PDF files, etc. I haven't had the time to look at anything else.
I wouldn't bother listening to the replays just yet until we've got through the whole course, and then listen to them at your leisure.
Okay. I was just listening so that, you know, the next bit falls into place, so that I understand, okay, what happened yesterday.
It will fall into place.
If you missed a section, then yes, watch the replay before the next day.
Yeah, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
If you've been in the room and been listening, then wait until the end of the 4 days, and you'll find that, you know, 99% of it will fall into place anyhow.
Oops. Okay, I'll follow that.
Yeah, we try and read everything that you've been sent already. You'll be up until God knows what hour, and you will be overloaded. Won't you be overloaded? No.
If you've tried to read everything, that I could see why you're overloaded right now.
Yeah,
this is there. I mean, Confessions of a Hypnotist is like 500 plus pages.
Yeah.
So don't even worry about that right now.
Yeah.
It's like just go watch the training that's been going on. You'll do fine.
Okay.
At night, you know, if you want, before, you know, not today, but starting tomorrow, use the you got a complete mind therapy session. Use that before the event, just so that you're calm and relaxed, or just tap.
Yeah. Okay. We'll do that.
I mean,
just relax yourself and get yourself ready.
On a weekend course in Manchester, London, etc., by the time we've finished on, of an evening, and then gone for something to eat, and probably met up for a couple of drinks in a bar somewhere at night time, you know, nobody's got time to sit down and review everything that they learnt the day that day.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there are certain people who will remain nameless in case they are in the room, who have been known to stay up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning partying on a Saturday night, and then turning up at the seminar at 9 o'clock on a Sunday.
Well, they have
They've
a lot of
certainly not
stamina.
had time to review everything.
Yeah.
So if they can do it,
Students.
sorry,
That's not the students.
no. Well, I
But
wasn't
it's
going to
not.
mention that.
I haven't been able to sleep last night and night before. I don't know what is that due to. Maybe I've been sleeping at 5 a.m. in the morning and waking up at midday.
Oh my.
That's just bad sleep patterns at the moment. The weather and you know,
Yeah.
everything else that's going on. Don't forget, you're in a position where, you know, before what were we? You know, sort of 3-4 months ago, none of us had ever experienced anything quite like this. So
No, that's true.
3 or 4 months ago, most of us didn't have time to actually sit down and do one of these like this, did we?
No, you spend extra money on a hotel and a train and travel and go somewhere for the entire weekend.
Behave. I mean,
And it will cost you at least 10 times what this has. Yeah.
Behave. I'm in Manchester. I'm not that bad.
Very good salesperson you are, Alex.
Pardon?
A very good salesperson you are.
Well, I'm not trying to sell anything now, but it's just a fact. Normally, people have to pay for the cost of bloody hotels and travel as well. Eating away from home and all that cost them.
Somebody like me who I'm a supply teacher, so I have no job, no money.
Well,
You saved a fortune on this one, then, aren't you? It's ideal. It's brilliant. This one that Alexa put together today.
come the end of Sunday, there will literally be no logical reason whatsoever why you can't start safely, legally, morally, ethically, start earning money from it, other than getting off your ass and doing something about it, which I can't be there for.
Would we need professional indemnity insurance, etc.?
Yeah, I'll cover stuff like that before the few days is over.
Okay.
Excuse me. Yeah, that's on ready, yes. Oh, we're 58. About another 2.5 minutes. Set that recording ready.
I just think we know a lot of people can't be bothered getting off their asses half the time, don't we, Alex?
Hello, everybody.
Even without lockdown.
Click, get on my neck. There we go.
You got funny things happening with your picture, do you?
Yeah, I know. I'm just, going with the flow with it. I'll switch the virtual background off in a minute. And just, I like the alien look, the outer spatial sort of on drugs kind of look.
You need to turn a light on behind you, and that will sort that out a bit, probably.
Oh, well. I did buy one of these no, it doesn't, because there's already a lot of natural light. I bought one of these screen things, but I thought it came on a stand and it doesn't. So
have you selected the green screen button on the Zoom, and that sorts that out? You won't need a green screen then.
Yeah, I did, but it says that my system's not compatible.
What are you using, the Windows XP or something?
No, Windows 10.
Windows
Cheeky
10.
shite.
Well, I'm using the Windows 7 and it's working okay with me.
Well, it says here, it says your computer doesn't meet the requirements without a green screen background.
Okay.
Maybe something to do with my graphics card, I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably is your video card.
Have you got a lot of windows open? If you close everything, that will sort it out.
Yeah, so... No, well, I've got one window open. I tried it.
I meant the windows on your PC.
No, oh no, no, I closed them all down.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, it's actually, you know, it's quite a high spec one, but I don't know.
Have you got a door open nearby you?
Yeah, the door's actually making it better. Look, my dog decided she was going to come and see what it was all about.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. You can just look at my nice cluttered.
If you move your face closer to the camera, that will usually sort out. It's having trouble sorting you out from the background.
Oh, well, that's it's
If I
fine.
All right, Pete.
move away
it's
from the
8
camera,
o'clock.
you see that happens to me. But when I get close to the camera, it's okay. So perhaps you're too far from the camera.
I'm about 18 inches from the camera.
If you move closer to the camera, you'll see it sorts it all out, like mine does.
Nope.
But the picture looks okay now.
Yeah, no, because I've turned the virtual background off. That's my messy, untidy background that you can see.
Right, guys, it's 8 o'clock.
That's from my altar life as a English teacher.
Mics off, please. Can you unmute yourself? Excellent. Well, we are any moment now about to begin. Yes, he appears. This is for the records, looking at recordings so you don't mix them up. It is Saturday, therefore it is day 3. This is session number 1 of day 3, or more importantly, it's session number 5 out of the grand total of 8 of them when you're watching them in order. The replays will go in the group. Tomorrow, a couple of things to get out of the way first. I had a question asking me, is it possible, well, in a nutshell, I was asking, is it possible to hypnotise dogs, as in woof woofs? Because somebody's got a naughty dog and they thought it'd be a great idea. The answer to that is, technically speaking, no, but yes. And by that I mean a colleague of mine called Alan Bates in the late 80s, early 90s was on Esther Ransom's show That's Life on BBC One in England, and apparently hypnotised the badly behaved dog into becoming a well-behaved dog and got a load of great publicity out of it. I gathered that behind the scenes there was just basic dog training psychology used, and the fact that generally speaking, if you change the behaviour and belief systems of the human being owner or human parent of the fluffy animal, that that in itself can have a knock-on effect on the animal's behaviour. A good book for anyone who does want to go down that route is The Dog Whisperer by Jan Farrell. It's amazing how understanding the pack animal psychology of dogs, it will be, well, obviously it'd be useful in that context, but actually you'll find that it's actually relevant if you're a stage hypnotist or if you do group public demonstrations about becoming the perceived alpha male or female, the alpha of the group, so that everyone falls into line like we spoke about yesterday and takes on the persona of the group as you've directed it. So that answers that question. We're getting on to CMT shortly, don't worry. Yesterday I realised when we were talking shit that I forgot to mention, or I did mention, bat dung, but then I didn't explain what it was. Well, there's lots of talk about different brainwave states, and it's frankly cobblers. Again, it's just a construct. Nobody can prove it definitively, whether it's got any worth at all, really, anyway. But if you want to sound like you know what you're doing, or somebody brings it up, I suppose it helps if you can at least relate to what they're saying and communicate on that level. So bat dung, that's how I remember it. Bat shit, but D for dung. It's B-A-T-D, bat dung, which is B for beta, A for alpha, T for theta, and D for delta. Beta, alpha, theta, delta. Bat dung, bat shit, that's how I remember it. Beta, the letter B, it's like when you beta test a product, it's at the embryonic stage. It's it's still being tested out. It's still learning all the time. It is the base human. The letter B is base human, awake. It's the conscious state, in other words, as we are now, hopefully. A for alpha. A also stands for air, as in A-I-R, air in the sky. So it reminds me of having head in the clouds, daydreaming. Alpha is kind of the daydreamy type state. Theta, letter T, of bat. Theta, the letter T, is also the start of the word trance. Now, frankly, hypnosis is not some fancy trance state. We're all in trance state all of the time. It just varies. So hypnosis isn't, it's not different. It's just a variation. Let's not get hung up on that. It's really irrelevant. This stuff works for different reasons, like we've explained anyway. But in terms of this, the T of theta is also the T for trance. So it is the hypnotic state. So the majority of trainers will tell you. Frankly, I think that's bollocks, but there you go. But that's what most of them will tell you, what the conventional bullshit books say. D for the dung, because it's bat dung, bat shit. D for delta. Also, the letter D is the first letter of the word dreaming, which you do at night when you go to sleep. Delta is the asleep, sleep state. And that's how you remember the order of them. And there's the people that will tell you they have to be in the theta state, ideally, well, no, correction. There's people that are honest enough to tell you that the alpha daydreamy state is like sort of equivalent to light medium trance, and that's fine for most therapeutic healing work. But you really need them in theta state, which I've labelled as being trance, deep trance, and some people come up with fancy names like Esdale state and all these other cobblers titles, and I call them cobblers for a reason I'll come to in a minute, in order to be able to do things like dentistry work without anaesthetic or such like. And you definitely don't want them drifting into delta, because then they'd be asleep going, well, bullshit. My experience of 30 years in this industry to date, well, just over 30 years now, is that I do want them, therapeutically speaking, to go to sleep, proper sleep, for the reasons I mentioned yesterday. So I'm not going to repeat myself. If you've not seen yesterday, you've got to watch it. It all stacks up from day 1, day 2, day 3. I do want them to do that, so at the end I have to shout to wake them up, so that when they come round, they assume the fact that they go, I haven't got a fucking clue what's been going on, that is that zombie-like state of hypnosis that they had the misconceived idea about, but that we, rather than telling them they were wrong, give them the reality they were expecting. We fulfill their expectations. Therefore, that makes them feel better, but also it makes them believe the magic wand's been waved. And the moment they believe it and say that to themselves internally, they change the software that's running in their mind, and they get the results they want, which they could always have done, because no hypnotist in history has ever got any human being to do anything they couldn't have done themselves without the bullshit ritual of hypnosis. Okay? So don't worry, even on stage, don't worry about, oh, are they deep enough to respond to this routine or that? Bullshit. Think more in terms of, are they relaxed, and do they feel safe enough? Do they feel relaxed enough and safe enough in a stage show to do whatever I tell them? Have you framed it so that the benefit to them of laughter and applause is perceived as them being loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, and it's appreciation for them and makes them feel good rather than daft? Because ultimately, there's people that are better at acting deep, and you could argue all day long, and we've all had that odd person that looks like, way, they were truly out of it. And we'll even use that terminology because everyone understands what we mean by that, but that isn't what's really happened. My truthful opinion is, genuinely, that the people, the so-called sleepers, that when you say wide awake on the stage show, don't come around straight away. It's not that they've gone into a mega deep state. They're just attention-seeking fucking fuckwits. And they've decided very cleverly that by not apparently coming round straight away, they can get a lot of attention focused on themselves without the need to do the silly routines. So they still end up feeling special. Sounds cruel, sounds harsh, but I'm sorry, that's the total truth. After 30 years of doing this, I know there's people who disagree with me. If you do, you're wrong. I can say that, because I can say what the fuck I like for the next 4 days, because the point is, I'm telling you my experience. It may not be your experience, it may not be what you want to believe. That also is fine. I want to stress that. That's also fine, because just because this is my experiences that I'm sharing with you, what's worked for me, just because it's what I've taught literally tens and tens and tens of thousands of people in person at live events, via video training, via DVDs, and just because it's what I've taught to literally arguably several million people through books that have been shipped around the world over the past 30 years, and it's worked immensely for them, doesn't mean you have to believe a single word of it. If you want to delude yourself, but in a fashion whereby you want to believe the direct opposite of what I'm teaching you, but you are so confident and headstrong with your conviction in whatever bullshit, you might think it's real, but whatever bullshit process that you've learned and wasted fucking thousands on, whether it's called Rapid Transformation Therapy, Marissa Peers, it's just a fucking title. It's a marketing plan you're buying, that's all. At the end of the day, all of it works for the reasons I said yesterday and the day before, and will continue throughout this event. It's all bullshit. It's placebo. It's just giving them an excuse to change, permission to change, a safe place, the scenario to leave that baggage behind. There's nothing more to it. Don't get caught into that. And yeah, there'll be some of you no doubt watch this and go, no. You see, I paid out £1,000 for my NLP practitioner, £2,000 for my master practitioner, and then £3,500–4,000 for my trainers, and then I have to pay every year to Richard Bandler for another signed piece of toilet paper, diploma. And if you do fall into that category, please stop paying the yearly fees for a fucking bit of paper signed by Bandler just because you have to have the license. No, you don't. You don't. Because he lost the copyright, he lost the trademark on NLP years ago. That's why I can give people certificates in NLP, Advanced Master Practitioner, legally, and I do inside the Elite Hypnosis BOOTCAMP. You can join before midnight on Wednesday for just $197. After that, it's back to $5,000. So $197 sterling by midnight Wednesday, or $5,000 after that, which makes sense to you. And you never have to pay yearly fees for another signed bit of paper. If you want another bit of paper, print another one out the year after from the boot camp and put a different fucking date on it if it makes you feel better. But that's all they are, is perceptional, placebo-inducing tools to have on your office wall or images on your website to convince potential clients that you know what you're doing so that they will book. Or to some degree, it's to give you the insecure fuckwit that's still in the category of one of those. This won't apply to all of you watching, but it will to some of you. Decide for yourself if this rattles you inside somewhere. If it does, I'm sorry. If it does upset you with what I'm about to say, then what it means is you need to do some fucking work on yourself. Because a lot of therapists get into this because really they're searching for answers to their own problems. They've not dealt with their own baggage, and they haven't found the right excuse yet to let go of that self-blame, shame, guilt, and regret that's been holding them back, to be able to reprogram the self-limiting beliefs that were programmed mainly as a kid from 0 to 7 that caused the way they reacted after that, which is why we'll cover a bit about inner child therapy later. If you are your own worst enemy and know that, and you'll know because you'll be feeling it now inside, you'll be feeling a bit either angry at me for saying that, or pissed off, or some other sort of negative emotion, then frankly my advice to you is fucking grow up and stop it. Go on YouTube, type in stop it, S-T-O-P gap I-T comedy sketch, search for it and watch it, and then follow that therapist advice in that video and get off your ass and do what you could have always done. Because the only person stopping you is you. It's fucking as simple as that. You might not like hearing that, and tough shit. If you don't like hearing it, that means even more that it's more factually correct for you. Won't be everyone watching, but some of you, that's what you need, a kick up the arse. You need to just stop fucking wasting money on course after course after course after course. So you can go to a seminar and go in a room with people and feel special because you know some fancy terminology that they do. And you can talk about things, and then you can go in groups and go, I did this course and I did that and I've got this bit of paper. Bullshit, you want bits of paper? Just join the boot camp, you've got 18 of them. If you want new bits of paper every year, print some more out. And to answer the question about the diplomas, I've not taught you complete mind therapy yet, so at this moment it would be illegal, technically illegal of you, it will be considered criminal fraud for you to print out the complete mind therapy diplomas that are in that download package. It would be fraudulent for you to put on them a date. Some of them have got an electronic signature on already of mine, but if they haven't, within the package, I happily give you permission to just sign it Jonathan Royle. If you really want it signed in my handwriting, you can, but you're going to have to pay me for the paper that I'm going to have to print it out of my computering, the stiff back card envelope to send it to you through the post, the postage to send it signed for delivery so it doesn't get lost, and enough to make it worth my while to pay for a few pints when the pub's finally reopen, then yeah, I can. But you know what? It won't make a fucking blind bit of difference to your clients because they won't know whether it's my fucking signature for real or you that's just signed Jonathan Royle on it or not. They won't have a fucking clue. They really won't. And, you know, if they do ever contact me to check if you actually qualified through the Mindcare Organisation UK Limited, the fact is you are now on record as being one of my students in my book, on my database, and I will just confirm, yes. So they will still be none the bloody wiser as to whether it's my signature or yours. But if you, for your own peace of mind, in a Wizard of Oz kind of way, need that piece of paper, and you need it in the state of mind of knowing that it was actually my hand that signed it, then yeah, private message me, pay me some money, and I'll do it. Bit daft like, look, because, you know, I might delegate it and get my wife to sign them. Instead, you wouldn't fucking know, would you? Exactly, you wouldn't know. Neither will your client. However, it would be fraudulent for you to display said certificate or put it on your website before you have taken the exam. Because at the moment, you don't know what complete mind therapy is fully. Now, that might, one or two of you may have jumped ahead and already read the scripts and the book and watch the relevant videos in the downloads. So you may know, but it still wouldn't be ethical and it could arguably classed as fraud for you to claim to have become certified in it until I tell you you can be certified, which I'm not going to do until you actually know what CMT is, which we're going to cover today. And then we're going to do the exam. And when you've done the exam, you'll genuinely, truly, and sincerely, when you pass it, as I know you will, because I'm a fucking good teacher, and I'll make sure you pass it, when you pass the exam, modest as well, when you pass the exam, then you will be legally, ethically, morally, on all levels, able to display and say that you are a diploma-bearing, complete mind therapy practitioner. And the same will apply with complete unconscious reprogramming of emotional disease and distress when I have taught you that. Again, later today, and then you've done the exam. And the exam will take place online, like this, live, today. Now, the people who are not here live will have to watch the replays and are going to have to then respond underneath the video in the group. That will become clear and obvious. You guys and girls will be able to respond by typing in the chat box on Zoom as we do this live when it comes to the exam. But obviously we can't do the exam until you know what the bloody CMT process is, okay? So with that in mind, we are going to move to stage one, which is the questionnaires. before a complete mind therapy session, whether it's online, via Zoom, or it's face-to-face, slight difference for group sessions, I'll explain later, but for one-to-one therapy clients, whether face-to-face, physically in person, or online, I always, as I've already explained, I'm heavily busy, booked up way in advance, but fortunately I could fit you in about 4.5, 5, maybe 6 weeks time, but it's going to have to be on this day at this time. But I've got a cancellation then. It's either that or you wait 3.5, 4 months. If they're genuinely ready to change, they will take the cancellation and they'll change they'll throw a sickie from work, or they'll do whatever they have to get that cancelled appointment. But that elevates your prestige because you're obviously good. That's why you're booked up in advance. You get at least 50% of the money off them up front. These days I tend to get payment in full up front the time of booking, just because it saves faffing around when they show up. Although I have mentioned how to do that with the old comedy line about cross my palm with silver. Nobody likes to talk about money, so let's get the balance before, the moment they arrive, before you do that rapport process I spoke about. And when they've paid their deposit, I email them, and these are in the downloads. The PDFs are in the downloads that you've got in the group as part of this package. And there are 2 questionnaires. In terms of the PDFs, there's 2 questionnaires. The truth is, I send them both at the same time. These days as emails, that's 2 PDF attachments to get emailed to them after they're paid. And they are told quite categorically, and it doesn't say it on the questionnaires, this, I'm making that clear. I tell them this in the email they get, which I have one stored in my email client so that I can just copy and paste this text when I've got a booking. So I don't have to type it by hand every time. What it tells them is this: thank you for paying your deposit of amount, or paying in full, as the case may be. There is nothing else to pay, or the balance of is due in cash, in full, upon arrival at my office, or is due in full as cleared funds into my bank of, or to this PayPal account of, no later than this time on this day, i.e. the day before the session that's been booked. Failure to pay the balance in full on time results in loss of deposit and no session. Failure to show up results in loss of deposit. Simple as. That's why, I don't worry about whether clients show up. I really don't give a fucking shit, because when I've already got half the money up them off, well, now I get all the money up front, but for a number of years I just got half of it up front. If they didn't show up, I'd made 250 quid for doing sod all, and I could go to the pub. And honestly, maybe when we have the break, Stuart will come on then during the break and tell you, telling the truth, I've met up with him. I've told him I'll finish the client by a certain time at the office I was renting, so I'll meet you in the pub nearby. And I've ended in the pub way earlier. And he's like, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be seeing clients. You're not showing up. But I've already made 250 quid out of them. Can I charge a minimum of 500 quid? I'll talk more about clients not showing up later. Anyway, the questionnaire. Very, very, very important. This is why, one of the keys to why complete mind therapy works so bloody well. There's nothing to touch it on the planet in terms of reliability. And I challenge any therapy trainer to show me a system that's better. And then I'll turn around and show them how what they're doing is already part of complete mind therapy already. That's why I call it complete. But it's got basically every technique and proven to work principle in one session. Some would argue that's a shotgun approach, laziness. And the NLP actually teaches us to find out all about submodalities and what buttons are really being pushed inside the client. My life's too fucking short to care about people that much. I don't want to hear the fucking problems and all that shit face to face. Do I fuck? No. Like I said yesterday, all this nonsense about visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, goods, bullshit. I just use this sentence a lot, and you'll see it in the complete mind therapy script. We've got the sentence we spoke about, it's almost as if. So however they perceive it's right for them, and I end that up with in a way that feels right for you, so it bookmarks whatever goes in the middle as being they can perceive it however they want, and that's correct. And add in quite often that there's in a calm, safe and secure manner, which helps avoid any potential reactions or negative linkage, as I've already spoken about. And now quite often, sometimes if I'm giving them a visualization process, which we will go through with CMT, I will say it's almost as if you can taste, smell, see, feel and hear everything as 100% total reality in your mind's eye in a way that feels right for you. So in the way that feels right for you, leaves them to focus on whatever sensory representational system is correct for them. They will be one or a combination of more than one of those, but with that simple sentence, it's almost as if you can taste, smell, see, feel and hear everything as 100% total reality in your mind's eye in a way that feels right for you. Cuts out all this bullshit meta questioning and fucking, I do know all the titles. I am actually a frigging officially licensed NLP trainer from Bandler lineage through John Overdurf, who is one of the authors of the excellent book Training Trances that you'll find on Amazon. He taught Richard Haggerty, who made me a licensed NLP trainer. That's just a side issue. So that, but it actually means that, I suppose, if you want to believe it means something, it means that your NLP qualification you can get inside the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp from me has more substance now, because I am actually a licensed NLP trainer through John Overdurf and Julie Silverthorne off the top of my head. You can go on magicalguru.com, click on therapy, click on my diplomas links, and you'll see it in there who it is I'm licensed by. I did it so that if people are hung up on apparent credibility shite, you as my student can go, it's all right, I've been taught by somebody who's licensed by. It's bullshit at the end of the day, but for some people, you know, it's what they need. So what I tell them is next on the email, you'll have to play this back and just take the points. As always, I go off on one, but it's all there for you. I tell them that attach the 2 PDFs, and even if they haven't got a printer, that's their problem. Because if this truly means something to them in life, getting this problem solved, then they'll find a fucking way to get it done. Whether it's going online and using one of these services where you can upload a PDF, have something printed out and sent to your house and paying for it, or whether it's getting a friend or family member to print the bloody thing out. But I tell them they have to physically print out the PDFs. Task number 1. Task number 2, they have to complete the PDFs in black ink. Got to be black ink on one of them, and the other one has to be in blue ink. Very important. One of the questionnaires, whichever they want, has to be completed in black ink, and the other one has to be completed in blue ink. And very important. One of them has to be completed in block capital letters, whereas the other one, entirely their choice which way round, has to be completed in cursive, joined up writing, or their best attempt at it. Failure to do one questionnaire in blue ink and one in black will result in them losing their deposit and having to pay again if they want to do a session after they've actually done the questionnaires fucking right. Failure to do one of them in block capitals and the other one in cursive joined up writing will result in them losing their deposit and having to pay again when they've done it right. Yes, I am that fucking strict with clients before they ever get through the door or ever get on Skype or Zoom with me. I tell you what, yes, will a large, well, not a large number, because if your advertising's been done right, as we'll cover on Sunday, then you will actually find that it's a very small number of people that back out at that stage. Well, by this stage, they paid their money, but they do get this explained to them a little bit before they part with the money, how strict it's going to be. And yes, it does put off 1 or 2 people. Well, that's great, because you know what? I don't want those types of footwits that can't be bothered doing these simple little tasks coming for therapy, because you know what? They're likely to be the fucking idiots that will get some kind of gain or worth out of going away and be able to go, oh, I tried. You know, so they've got something they can tell their wife or family or friends. But it's not my fault, I've tried and it didn't fucking work. We don't want those people through the door. And the best way to get rid of them is make it difficult for them. Well, not difficult, but to make it, they've got to put some effort into it. They've got to put some commitment in it. It gets rid of the dickheads, as does charging a decent fee. And that's where your marketing is so important. That's why we'll be covering marketing tomorrow. Marketing, advertising, publicity and promotion. So you can put yourself on the map to get clients, but also position yourself in a manner where people expect to pay more and where people expect that if you say they have to jump, they'll say, how fucking high? So I'm setting them simple tasks. One's got to be in black ink, one in blue. One's got to be in block capital letters, the writing, the other's got to be in cursive. It's got to be handwritten by them. They've got to complete all the sections. If there's not enough room in the gap shown on the sheet, then don't try and cram it in. Take another sheet of paper and write, see attached paper, and give as much detail as you possibly can to answer that question honestly. If you do not, then I will not be able to help you fully to the best of my ability, and any potential failure will be all your fault. As long as you supply me with honest, full, detailed answers to what's in these two questionnaires, then our work together when you come to my office or to the online appointment will prove to be 100% or 1,000,000% successful. Future pacing, that it will work. Total authority, confidence. It's repetition of giving them commands. They're getting used to following your instructions. Like the stage hypnotist who says to a volunteer on stage, stand up, move to that chair. Actually, no, move to this one. He gets them moving around, or she does, the moment they come on stage, so that they're being given commands, instructions, and they get used to following them to the point where they almost take on the mentality of a soldier on parade. He gets given a command, doesn't question it, just immediately follows it because the authority figures told them. That is what you're doing with the Stage Hypnosis show, and that is what I apply to therapy. So they're then told that when they've completed these, they have to send them back to you through the post. Yes. Now, yes, I do that even with online clients, or at least I did prior to the COVID nonsense that we're in now. I would be tempted, maybe, to let them, once they've completed it in handwriting, scan it into the computer and send it that way. Possibly. However, I think, you know, the more I've just verbalised that now, no, don't. You know why? Because the fact is they're not going to be coming to see you, even if it's online, for at least a bare minimum of 4 to 5 weeks from when they pay their deposit. If they can't get off their arse, print these fuckers out or find somebody to do it for them. Complete one in black pen, one in red blue pen, one in block capitals, one in cursive joined up writing. Fold them up, pop them in an envelope, take it to their nearest post office and send it back to you signed for delivery. And I demand that it has to be sent signed for delivery because that's their proof they've sent it. And as long as they do that, then if for any reason the post office cocks up, I will give them leeway about losing the deposit part. But they have to send me the tracking information the moment they've sent it. They've got more than enough time from anywhere in the world to get these sent to you. That means they have to get off their arse, which most places can do now. If there was, for some reason, somebody who wanted treatment from a country that was on lockdown in these exceptional circumstances, that genuinely wasn't able to get to a post office, then I would consider letting them scan the handwritten, completed questionnaires in and sending them through that way. But where there is the ability to leave the house or get someone to leave the house, or even to get a courier to pick it up from their house, you know, UPS or whatever, could pick up from houses, then I want them to do that. Yes, it's going to cost them more money. Well, if they want the fucking change enough, they will pay it. Otherwise, I don't want them as a client. It's more effort on their part, yes. But if they actually want the change, then if they want to use me as the excuse to leave behind that self-blame, shame, guilt and regret for why they haven't got off their ass and done it themselves sooner, then sure as hell, they better show that they're going to make some effort. And then that way, when you get it, you've got genuine handwriting. And I'm not going to say there's no graphology is bullshit in general, but there are some things, the generalities, like the way people sign their name. If they sign big and bold, tends to be a slightly more extroverted, or they give that impression of being anyway. There's things you'll sense, but I'm not going to dwell on that because that isn't the main key importance. It's about getting them to follow instructions and attaching importance to doing this. And from a psychotherapeutic point of view, arguably, setting down on paper the answers to these questions that we're about to go through helps them to offload that shit that they're going to leave behind properly at the seminar, at the session, and to see it with new eyes. Because at the moment it's in there in their head. When it's written down, they're seeing it. It's externalized. They start to let go of it a bit. They start to disassociate from it a little bit. To let go of it, it loses a little bit of its emotional power, because emotion goes into the writing it personally. That's why we don't let them type the answers on a computer. So it's got emotion attached to it. So the therapeutic process has already started. Okay. Both of these are in the package, so we'll just run through what's on them. It asks them, what is your name? Self-explanatory that. Although at the start of the session, you are going to ask them, what do your family or friends call you? But you leave that for in person because it's part of that rapport building trick I spoke about yesterday. Your address, telephone number, email, date of birth. What's your problem? How long have you had this problem? How do you feel this problem started? Number 8, what do you feel I need to do for you during the session to permanently cure this problem? Number 9, what is the final outcome you wish to achieve from the session? Number 10, what was the best experience of your entire life? A time you felt confident, proud, loved, and on top of the world. Number 11, what was the worst and most emotionally painful experience of your entire life to date? Number 12, who's the one person you love most in the entire world? If they didn't have any problems, the answer there should be them. So if I was filling this in, it should be me. Because I should have the self-worth and self-love to book that. But if I'm a client who needs an issue sorting because of those emotional things we spoke about over the past couple of days, imbalances there, it won't be them. It'll be somebody else they put down. That's the big clue that they need to feel more loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished and valued, and build up the self-confidence, self-esteem, self-image, self-control. So it builds up their self-worth, self-respect and self-love, so that they can become selfish in a positive manner to be selfless later. 13, are you on any medication for this problem or issue? 14, is there a history of this problem within your direct family? 15, have you tried any other alternative therapies to cure this problem before? 16, have you got any questions for me or anything else which you feel I should know about in order to be able to help you most effectively? That is questionnaire 1. I will now decipher what the purpose of those questions is. Name, address, telephone number. I hope you've guessed it's so that you've got the contact details of the client. Because then if it's a particularly good client or an interesting issue, you've got their details on file to, and obviously look into GDPR laws, General Data Protection Registrar laws, and Data Protection Act laws in your country and locality. Or find out more about them, I believe, in my Psychophysio, Energetic Alignment of Changing Energies and Emotions, Peace Practitioners Training Set, which is available on my website for about $300, which is about £270 sterling at the minute. Or you could save even more money and just join the bootcamp for £197 sterling before midnight on Wednesday. And everything I've ever released is in there, including Peace, where we do also teach the GDPR laws and all that kind of stuff. But you can find them free online if you bother to get off your ass and put some work in. Date of birth, the reason for that is, off that you can work out how old they are, okay? That will become relevant in a minute. I know you could just ask them there, how old are you? But because you ask them their date of birth, and they will forget by the time of the session what they put on here, but because you never ask them directly what their age is, if you suddenly appear to know their exact age, and are able to tell them at what exact age certain things happened in their life, they'll be like, how the flipping heck did they know that? And it will be like you've got some kind of special power. You are that magical hypnotist. Ooh. What's your problem? I think self-explanatory. 6, how long have you had this problem? When they tell you that, okay, they will generally vote a number of years. They might vote from a certain age, but more often than not, they vote a number of years. Well, you can take that number of years, deduct it from their age, which you've worked out from their date of birth, and you know at what age in their mind they believe the problem to have started. So during the session, you can casually go in, now imagine in your mind's eye, when this issue first started to become an obstacle in your life, when you were around the age of 26 or whatever. And because they know they've never told you it was around the age of 26, because they kind of haven't, you worked it out of those two separate bits of information. The psychological effect in the context of delivered within unexpectedly during the therapy session is one of, whoa, this must be lucky juju and magic woo-woo. It's all stuff, and it has an effect in helping them believe that they're really being hypnotized. Number 7, how do you feel this problem started? Quite often, that'll have no basis in reality. Doesn't matter. It's how they feel it started. If they feel it started that way, that is the best construct, metaphor, whatever you want to call it, to work from, because then you're not telling them that they're wrong, and they will feel better. And then that way you can get in through the back door, and it doesn't matter whether it's right or wrong, because you're just going to wipe all the fucking computer files relevant to this shit and replace them with ones that enable them to achieve what they wanted to do. Number 8, what do you feel I need to do for you during the session to permanently cure this problem? Generally speaking, whatever they put is irrelevant in one point, because I'm going to pretty much always do the complete mind therapy session. 99% of my clients, for the best part of 27 of the 30 years I've been doing this, have been with my CMT script, although I've honed it along the way to what it is today. But it's not altered in wording or structure for at least 15 years, because it reached perfection 15 years ago. But for the first 3 years, I was using that APHP course that I've given you free, the Fast Track Hypnotherapy script package that's there for download in the group, and I was just doing the whole script reading thing. And it still worked. It's just I get far less problem clients now, partly through the marketing, but also partly through there's far more of an important seeming ritualistic bullshit going on in the middle when they show up. However, it is relevant from another point of view. What do you feel I need to do for you during the session to permanently cure this problem? In the past, some example answers I've had have been, well, obviously you're going to have to get out your swinging watch, hypnotize me, and then tell me that, you know, the cakes I know I eat too many of taste like dog shit. Guess what? If they've wrote that down, guess what I'm doing? I'm getting out the swinging watch and using it at the start of the induction process, because that's what they want. And they're paying me a nice fee, so I'll make the effort to get out a swinging pocket watch and swing it in front of their eyes for a little bit before I tell them to shut their eyes, and just so long as you keep your eyes tightly closed at all times, unless I say otherwise, and just so long as you use your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively, then this work we do here today together will be 100% or 1,000,000% beneficial and positive and long-lasting for you. Nod your head if you understand. still the same. I just, you know, do what they wanted. And if they mentioned they want the stuff to apparently taste like dog shit, you're sure as hell I'm going to have them visualize it tasting like dog shit. That will give you clues that you can add in with a bit of common sense. Number 9, what is the final outcome you wish to achieve from the session? Important that, because you'd think that it was to overcome the fear of flying. No, that's what they're coming for, but the final outcome might be they want to accept the promotion they've been offered to be flying around the world as a salesman rather than stuck in the office on the phone. And that's why they want to overcome the fear of flying. They were never bothered about going on holiday, they want the promotion. So that's the outcome they want. That's the leverage that you can then use at certain points within the complete mind therapy session, using your common sense, which will become clear when we get to the complete mind therapy structure. You'll understand them. You need to know about the questionnaire first. Everything in order. Number 10. What was the best experience of your entire life? A time you felt confident, proud, loved, and on top of the world. I don't know whether to cry or laugh. I'm more inclined somewhere in the middle. But the number of times you will get, I can't think of one, it speaks volumes. It will happen. And that's because of all the things I spoke about in the past 2 days. And that's where you've really got to pay attention to building that person up and making them feel good about themselves, which is what complete mind therapy is in its entirety is about. Or, hopefully, in the vast majority of times, they will give you, they might say it's when the son or daughter was born, when they passed an exam, when they won something. There'll be a piece of information you can utilise later when you want to, what NLP would call anchor, some positively good feelings to future things they're going to do in life, or to the idea of not doing things they once did but feeling good about not doing it. You can take genuine things that have taken place in their life, that they've got genuine thoughts, feelings, emotions and memories already firmly ingrained in their personal desktop computer, and leverage the power of them to help them get the outcome they desire. Number 11. What was the worst and most emotionally painful experience of your entire life? Again, it's something they've genuinely experienced. So they've got thoughts, feelings, memories, emotions connected, ingrained in that computer. It's easier to take something that already exists, that they totally believe, and leverage it in a manner that it gets anchored to getting them the outcome that they desire and booked your time for. I hope that makes sense. Number 12. Who's the one person you love most in the entire world? As I said, really, if they didn't need a therapist, they would be saying them. But you'll generally get mother, daughter, son, something. You'll get somebody. I have had it only once or twice in my career, the past 30 years, that they bought nobody. And that's when I thought maybe that individual was probably best not seeing me, and probably was more of somebody who may be better seen by somebody else who deals with medication and keeping the general public safe. And I'm not going to mention the names because I shouldn't really, but let's just say they did end up in prison for attempted murder. So my gut instinct was right. Yeah. Well, most people will put somebody down, and that will give you leverage and emotional connection they've genuinely got with somebody that you can use at the appropriate time in the complete mind therapy structure as further leverage that's based in reality already. So we're taking reality, real thoughts, feelings, emotions, and memories and connections that already exist, firmly ingrained in their mind, and using that as leverage to anchor in the one way or the other, either for pain or pleasure, depending on which section it is, to help them get the outcome. 13. Are you on any medication for this problem? Reason for that is these days you've got the internet, so you can tap in the name of the medication and check out what potential side effects are. The reason for that being, okay, what I do, I'm not sure if I've actually updated the PDF you've got. I hope I have. If I haven't, you might want to add on, I do tend to ask them, or any other medication. So it says, are you on any medication for this problem or medication for anything else? The reason being, example, this is just an example. Somebody wants weight management therapy, say, and they say they eat too much cakes, they don't do enough exercise. We can deal with that shit. But if they're taking, because they've got some sort, let's say they've got thyroid issue, that in itself can cause weight gain. But let's say they're taking medication for something else that they feel is totally unconnected, and it may well be unconnected, but one of the side effects of that drug is potential weight gain, then you need to be aware of that so that you can make them aware of it. So you can say, look, you will lose, future pacing positively, you will lose weight with the process we're going to do. It may just be that it's not as rapidly as you would have desired or to the full level you desired until such times as your medical GP should tell you that it's safe to stop taking this medication. But I am telling you to keep taking it until a proper medical GP should tell you otherwise. You just need to be aware, Lord, that it has this potential side effect. That's the ethical, moral, and legal way. Always refer people to their medical GP. Never tell them to stop taking any form of medication, otherwise you could end up with lawsuits galore. But do check out the names of medication on what the side effects may be, because then with common sense you can see if that could be a potential issue in terms of them thinking that it hasn't worked as well as it actually has done, because it has worked and they've cut down the negative eating and they've upped the exercise, but they're not seeing as much of a result as they wanted because of the side effects of that medication. Okay? It's something to bear in mind. 14. Is there a history of this problem within your direct family? With phobias, that can be, you know, linking with what I've already said about maybe having seen the mother scream at a spider when they were younger. If it's a health thing, if they say they've got asthma, they can say asthma runs in the family. You don't know. There could be various things. It's about common sense, this. It'll become clearer as we go through the structure, what you're using this information for. Some of these questions, such as that, it's not so as important always about it being relevant to the complete mind therapy session. It's so it looks like the kind of questionnaire they might get from a conventional medical practitioner or private consultant, so that you get labelled with the same kind of prestige as the private medical consultant, which helps bump up the placebo effect. That is why I call myself a hypnotic consultant, not therapist, aside from the fact that therapist spells the rapist, not good. A hypnotherapist is hypno the rapist, psychotherapist is psycho the rapist, even fucking worse. I call myself a hypnotic consultant because consultant is not a protected word, but it does have medical connotations, but I'm not deceiving anyone. And also there's the beautiful fact that I can legally call myself Dr. Jonathan Royle, because I do indeed have a fully legal bona fide doctorate. Well, I have several. I have one in psychology, and I have a doctor of metaphysics and a doctor of divinity. That were all very reasonable to purchase. Once I had become a legally ordained reverend of the Universal Life Church, just type in become an ordained reverend for free, Universal Life Church. You'll find the website. You can get registered online for free, and then you can legally conduct weddings, funerals, and pretty much most religious ceremonies in most states of America, some other places in the world by a careful arrangement and completing some other bits of paperwork, except for circumcisions. You're expressly banned from doing circumcisions, honestly. It's no skin off my nose. Yeah, you become a legally ordained reverend, and then you can take one of their religious degree courses, which is incredibly easy to pass, because the answers to the questions are with you in the PDF that comes through. It's ridiculous, it's too easy, really. However, then you get your doctorate, which is legal, to use the title doctor, and you can get it on your passport. Helps with courtesy upgrades. I know it's worked for me. Although not as well as when I become knighted and became able to use Sir as a title on documentation. I've even forgotten where I got my knighthood from. It's that independent Sealand. Yeah, sealand.gov. Check out their website if you want to get knighted, get a knighthood. But doctors, enough. I'm not saying do any of this, by the way, because you've got to live with your own ethics and morals. Personally, I think ethically and morally that anything that can create in the potential client's mind my prestige level so fucking high that they're convinced enough to part with at least £500 United Kingdom sterling for 60 minutes of my time, thereabouts. You know, I might overrun a little bit for them if I'm feeling kind. And puts them in a frame of mind where they're already in their own heads, telling themselves that this will work, and on that particular day, rather than saying to themselves, I'm going to see a therapist this day and I hopefully will stop smoking, they're telling themselves, in 4.5, 5 weeks' time, I'm going to see Jonathan Royle, the world famous hypnotist, Dr. Jonathan Royle, who treated all these celebrities, and wow, I'm going to leave his office a confident, happy, healthy, relaxed non-smoker. Or I'm going to leave his office able to turn down those foods that I used to eat too much of. I'm feeling motivated to do more exercise, setting off on my perfect path to becoming the perfect me. That's the kind. Anything that's legal within the realms of the law, to claim to have any form of educational qualification that you don't genuinely have, or to misrepresent it, is illegal. If anyone asks you if you have a doctorate in psychology, I can say yes, because I've got one. But if you haven't, you have to say, no, I've got a doctor of divinity, or I've got a doctor of whatever you've decided. It could be spirituality, whatever. Then you've got to legally tell them, otherwise it's fraud. But you know what? How many people have ever asked me, who booked in as clients? Precisely, fuck all. None of them. You know why? Because nobody's ringing me or emailing me after seeing the way I advertise, unless they've already got to the point of being at least 90%, probably more, decided that I'm the person that's going to give them the solution to change their life. And that's what your correct marketing, advertising, publicity and promotions about, that we'll talk about tomorrow. Arguably, it's the most important thing because it gets you the clients, it makes you money, but it also frames you as the expert. It puts you in that prestige position. It puts in their state of mind the belief that you are the right person to help them. The expectancy that whatever you do will work for them. And that is the key to it all. So that they're 99% cured before they step foot in your office. Then the rest truly is, as I've been saying, an important seeming ritualistic process. So that they can rationalize it to themselves that they've had the magic wand waved, and also feel good about having made that decision to leave the shit behind and move on and leave that self-blame, shame, guilt and regret behind, because you've given them an environment for change, a safe place and permission to change. 15, have you tried any other alternative therapy to cure this problem? If somebody, God forbid, it's never happened, I'm glad to say, but if somebody wrote down there, I went to see somebody who used a technique called complete mind therapy, I would, number one, my first instinct would be, what the fuck? And I'd find out who it was, because I'd be having words with them to find out why the fuck it didn't work for the client, because the only reason for it not working for the client is if the person that they've named either A, didn't actually use complete mind therapy with them, but had it mentioned on their website, for example, in which case my system's not to blame. Or if they, for some reason, were totally ignoring the advice I'd given them in their training and have turned into a fuckwit therapist who charges like somewhere between £50 to £100 a session in England, which is kind of the average rate in England. And if you're charging that, you're fucking the business up for other people. Well, you're not, because people understand marketing, advertising, publicity and promotion. The cream rises to the top and you'll be able to position yourself as above the rest, which makes it even easier for you to get results. Generally speaking, though, but it'll be totally different. It won't be hypno stuff. It'll be like, I might have had reflexology, aromatherapy. It just gives you a bit of leverage, something you can mention and say, oh, I see you've tried aromatherapy and reflexology before. It's bollocks. It's something you look like you give a shit. Maybe you do give a shit. If you do, good luck to you. I'm just very good at pretending that I give a shit. It gives me something to talk about, so I don't have to make it up off the top of my head in front of them. Number 16. If you think I'm being tongue-in-cheek at the minute, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. 16. Have you got any questions for me or anything else which you feel I should know about in order to be able to help you most effectively? If they've got questions, I probably won't fucking answer them anyway, because they'll forget they've asked them. Unless it's something like the classic, I'm not going to end up clucking like a chicken or barking like a dog, am I? In which case, I will handle it the way I told you yesterday or the day before and tell them, we can do that if you want, but it's going to cost you more money. So, either you give me some more money, then we can do the dog barking and chicken clucking stuff, or we could just use the time you paid for so that you can leave here the confident, happy, healthy, relaxed non-smoker that you booked the session for. It's up to you. Which do you want? And of course, then they, in their heads, think you could do it, so they're attaching even more power and prestige to you, but they feel safe that you're not going to do it. Yeah. So, the second questionnaire. This is one that I modelled. Okay, and I use the term model because in NLP it's just a nice way of saying copied or stole. From television life coaches, the Speakmans, because they used this during their first and only specifically aimed at other therapist training event, which I promoted, organised, and convinced them into doing years back. And then the second event they ever did after that was one that was aimed, some therapists came, but it was more aimed at the general public, which is the kind of things that they do now. So there was only ever one event. So in the world, there only exists there's probably about 40 sets of DVDs on this planet only. Because only people who were actually at that event ever got a set of the DVDs of the event of them teaching therapists their methods. And as you'll notice on magicalguru.com, on the therapy page, I am one of literally a handful of probably only a couple of dozen therapists in the world that is a Speakman qualified visual coding displacement therapist, VCDT. They've now changed the name of it slightly into schema conditioning psychotherapy or schema conditioning displacement therapy. But ultimately, one of the main techniques they used was originally called visual coding displacement therapy. I'm one of only a couple of dozen people qualified in it. You see, I've got the diploma on my site, and I can tell you categorically that I've renamed it Visual Confusion Disorientation Technique, VCDT, because it's just a combination of different ways of getting somebody to look at a watch that's moving around, blink their eyes, move their eyes around, and a whole bunch of other shite, similar to what I covered yesterday. Although if you do want to learn it in more depth, I do have a full course on visual confusion disorientation technique in my online store, which you can buy for about $100. Or of course, you get it free inside the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp. Okay, questionnaire number 2, the one that's largely modelled on them. And some of this is repeated from the other, but it's left in purposely. Because if they refuse to answer it, I will go mad at them in a frank, thoroughly provocative therapy manner. They have to be put in a fucking place, especially if they're celebrities and you're bringing down a notch, so that you're the authority figure, so that the magic wand can be waved, so the magic voodoo and lucky juju can take place. That's all it is, placebo triggering bullshit. Your current life. In order that we may work with you to your maximum potential, please give us some background information on your life today. The following questions will prompt you. What events, people, or experiences have contributed to make you the way you are? Please be specific. Include events and people that have had a significant impact upon you. And then there's a column for positively and a column for negatively. Next question. What are your biggest personal? Column for successes, column for failures. If you were going to attempt anything right now and you knew that you couldn't fail, what would it be? What are your biggest regrets in life? That's good for ramping up pain at the right times. What dreams and ambitions did you have when you were younger? That's good for making them feel like shit because they didn't do something about it, or for giving them hope for the future that those things, you can use it in different contexts. What thoughts, themes, desires do you have now? Thoughts, dreams, or desires rather. Sorry, not got my glasses on. Please list the things that you would rather not have in your life right now. Please list the things in your life that you really appreciate. Please list qualities that you value and really appreciate about yourself. Please list any ways that you limit your success. Please list any fears or phobias that you have. And is that it? Oh no. What are your current expectations of coaching stroke therapy? What current challenges do you want coaching stroke therapy to assist you with? What is the main thing that you wish to change about yourself? What would happen in your life if you didn't make the changes you require at the consultation? Please make a list of all the negative things that could potentially happen in your life if you do not change this behaviour now. We can use that as pain of, if you leave here and don't do X, Y, Z positive things, then you will be this, and this, and feed all the stuff to them they've already got an emotional connection to that will prove so painful that it motivates them to stop doing the shit they were doing and start doing the stuff they need to do. Yeah? Please make a list of all the ways that you live, that your life will improve for the better when you have accomplished the changes that you require now. Positive future pacing, anchoring, visualization, stuff they already appreciate, the benefits of doing it, so we can ramp that up. The pleasure scale that we talked about, pain and pleasure thing. Finish the sentence and write the very first thing that comes to mind. Life is a blank. Then, what is your most reoccurring thought? And finally, list your top 10 outstanding successes, e.g. passing driving test, getting a degree, getting married, having a baby, etc., etc. All of these things are partly to make it look like you're doing some sort of proper clinical process. It gives credibility, it's adding to the ritual. They're also starting to externalize and think about things they may not have done in the past, and they'll start to see things differently. They literally will when it's in front of the face. It's not just a metaphor therapeutically, it genuinely will elicit emotions and states within them, if you want to call them that. What time are we on? Have I got time before the break to teach CMT? Probably not, so I'll tell you the finer points, and then after the break I'll teach you the structure. So the questionnaire, you get all the information, and as I say, one of these will have been written in blue ink, one in black, one in block capitals, one in cursive writing, both sent back through the post via sign for delivery. If none of that is done, or one of it's not done correctly, they lose their deposit and they have to pay again if they want to see me, and they've agreed to that and entered into a legally binding contract of agreement by doing so, because it's my way or the fucking highway. If they believe I'm the person who can help them, then they have to do it my way when I say that it's going to be done. That's why they will take time off work, throw a sickie, find someone to pick the kids up from school or whatever. And I've had people trust me, they will. You've just got to have the confidence of your convictions to carry this through. You know, I've had people travel from Scotland, Wales, Ireland. I'm in Greater Manchester, England. I've had people flying from India, America, Norway? No, Sweden it was. Sweden, Germany, and other places around the world to come and physically see me for a session. Now, the reason they did that is because of the way I market myself, but you'll be able to do that potentially after tomorrow's session when you get off your arse and do certain things. But it's also because I make it quite clear that their only other option, can I refuse to do online sessions then? These days I would give them the option of an online session, but I would charge them a premium for it, okay, rather than less. Some therapists out there charging less because they're doing it online rather than people coming into the office. I think that's fucked up logic. It's still taking the same amount of your time, yeah? You're still the professional. And if you tell people that it's just as effective as if they were in the room with you, and they believe you, and your marketing's right, and you've done everything else I talk about right, then why should you be charging less? If anything, you should be charging more because you're giving them the convenience of not having to drive, take a train or a plane to get to you, to not have to, you know, find a parking place and all that nonsense. If anything, it attracts a premium. Start thinking differently. So they've done the questionnaire. You've got all that information. You've got your leverage. That's going to be the leverage that's weaved into the session. They show up on the day of the session. You welcome them. Hi, Mr. Johnson. Or is it okay if I call you David? Because his thing says his full name's David Johnson, for example. And he'll go, David's okay, yes. 99.9% of the time. If they don't, you know you've got a cunt of a client. In which case, it's up to you how you handle it, but I'd be kind of, I'd probably turn around to them, it's only happened once or twice, and say, oh, that's a terrible shame. They can always find that the therapeutic process between myself and my clients always works better and lasts longer for them when they're actually prepared to relax a bit with me and get on friendly terms. But if you want to take the risk of this not working, and I kind of put it back on them. So they have to consciously agree to it. But generally speaking, that won't be an issue, but that's what I'd do if they did. So they've agreed to let them call them David. And then I follow it up with, oh, excellent, cheers, David, shake them by the hand or whatever. By the way, is that what your family and friends call you? And this is where you find out the instant rapport thing I told you about. They might call him Dave, Davey, Barry the Pirate. Don't know why when he's called David, but God knows, everyone's got their own story. And once he tells you that, you go, oh, cool. Is it okay if I call you that? And he's kind of obliged to say yes, because you've already made it clear about, you know, it helps the process. When he says yes consciously, he's allowing himself to put you on the same level of trust and rapport as his close family and friends. And that's all you need to do to get rapport. Any other level of rapport should be what they call awe rapport, that they're in awe of you because you've got the mystical power of hypnosis that you can knock them out, reprogram their mind, let them leave that baggage behind in your office, and they can leave. Cured! Praise the Lord! That's effective. You never verbalise this because you'll seem a bit weird if you do. It's between you and me, okay? But that's what's really going on. I mean, you don't verbalise it to them unless you want to get into the realms of being an evangelical preacher. And then effectively you fucking do, because that's what they do all the time. Allegedly. Sorry, I didn't mention any names there, did I? So no one in particular can sue me. Which reminds me of a film, Leap of Faith. Excellent film, well worth watching. Starring Steve Martin, the comedy actor, where he plays a fraudulent evangelical preacher. Is there any other kind? But no, seriously, he plays a fraudulent evangelical preacher doing the whole healing shit, but using all the tricks like, you know, somebody comes in that's got a bit of a walking stick, walking a bit slow, and one of his assistants will go up and go, it's all right, I'll push you to the front, one of the best seats, and gets them to sit in a wheelchair and wheels them down. No wonder he can fucking cure them. And he says, the Lord says you now can stand up. Of course they can stand up. They could always fucking stand up in the first place. But the audience perceive it as this guy was in a wheelchair, now he's walking. Praise the Lord, it's a miracle. No, it's bullshit. It's stage management and it's psychology and deception and fraud. That's what it is, my friends. Anyway, in this film, the policeman in one of the towns where he's gone figures that it's fraud and confronts Jonas Nightingale, which is the character Steve Martin plays, confronts him. There's no one else around. He said, look, there's nobody else around. You're a fraud, aren't you? This is all a trick, a scam. And Jonas Nightingale, that's the character of Steve Martin, leans forward in this cafe place where there's no one else, and he says, because the policeman said, "You're not real, are you?" He said, "Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. But what's it matter just so long as the job gets done?" Now, I'm not advocating fraudulent evangelical preachers who prey on the vulnerable. I'm definitely not, because they take it way, way, way too far, you know, blatantly taking people's life savings off them, who've got terminal illnesses, and all manner of stuff that we don't need to go with. But the underlying principle ties in with what I've been telling you about. Does it matter what level of trickery we use? They're guaranteed to move further than they did. Or the 0 to 10 ploy I taught you yesterday, where they're guaranteed to give a lower number, so they come to believe that a definite change has taken place. Or the phraseology such as "prove to yourself you've done it right," so the hand's stuck to a wall, or their eyelids are locked, or whatever. We know it's trickery, but we're using it with positive intent to help the client change their state of mind and perceptions and beliefs so that they get the outcomes they want. In which case, yeah, maybe some of it's trickery, maybe some of it's real, like we'll cover in the session structure after the break. But what's it fucking matter as long as they get their outcome? As long as they stop smoking, or they lose weight, or they gain confidence, or they overcome their phobia, or they live their life better with a renewed sense of confidence and not dwelling all the time about, "Oh, Uncle Bertie bummed them at the birthday party when they were 5. As long as they get the outcome they want, excellent. Does it matter how we got them there? No. If we've done it as rapidly, safely, or I would argue ethically and morally as possible, rather than dragging it out over multiple sessions, and without having them to have to talk too much about. It's one thing getting people to write down the worst things that ever happened in their life in the privacy of their own home, where they feel totally safe, putting it in an envelope and sending it to you as the perceived credible expert, and you tell them that's another reason why you want it sent signed for delivery, so it's secure in the mail and doesn't get lost. It means that you appear more caring as well. You're attaching importance to their feelings, making them feel special and loved, and all those things we've already talked about. All of these things I'm explaining thought processes that actually take milliseconds, but it is what's going on behind the veil inside their head. They may not be consciously aware of it, but using these ploys, strategies, techniques, and scenarios gets them where we need them to be for them to get what they want, which I would hope you would agree is ethical. Okay. So, as I say, after the break, I'm going to go through the complete mind therapy session and explain how it links in with those questionnaires. But ultimately, that's to give you leverage on the pain and pleasure scale, the positive, negative, and all that we covered yesterday. So you'll have to refer back to that as well, obviously. Quickly, before the break, I'll just mention some of the little, what I call the important seeming ritualistic processes. Yesterday, I covered the eye movement with the torch or the finger, so-called EMDR. I covered havening, the nice, release the oxytocin, rub yourself, feel good, the beach, the lawn, the steps, and the eye movement nonsense. I covered complete mind tapping, spectacles, testicles, wallet and watch. Another one that I will quite often use for media scenarios, because for one-to-one therapy or online or group sessions, I always use complete mind therapy. But for the media, like I said, as we'll discuss more tomorrow, you don't have much time with them backstage. So I use things like the tapping or the eye movement with the torch or the hugging shit. Doesn't matter what the process is in the middle, because I've used the 0 to 10 ploy to bookend it at the start and the end. You can make shit up yourself. You really can. Why not? Most hypnotherapy trainers out there have. So they can rip you off for things that only work because of what I've taught you already. And that's not tongue-in-cheek. That's fucking true. Okay. I use the dials and control room, which we've briefly mentioned about the control room. Dave Outman technique of turning off all the little mushrooms around the eyelids. I won't repeat that. You can watch it in the previous video. However, what I will tell you is, use some common sense. You can alter that. You can have them go into see the door in their mind, okay, with their eyes closed, see the door, and tell them that door will take them to their head engineer. That's weird language, because is it an engineer inside their head, or is it the top level head engineer? Ambiguous language that can help layer up that confusion and disorientation, which will keep them consciously occupied, allowing critical faculty analytical area bypass, thus meaning direct communication with the unconscious subconscious mind, which is arguably the closest thing you're ever going to get to so-called hypnosis, because that's what you want to do, reprogram the personal desktop computer. So you could have them imagine that this is a door to the control room in the mind, and that inside this is the head engineer, and their head engineer knows exactly which of the dials, buttons, levers, switches or controls. And I say all of them in a way that feels right for you, so that if they imagine some other weird way of turning things on and off, they can do. So they've got a level of, so they are metaphorically taking control of this. They're starting to make decisions. But they need to ask the head engineer which of them. So in their mind, they might be thinking they're all buttons, or they're all switches, or they're all dials, or they're all levers, or they're all sliders, or a combination of them. It's whatever feels right for them because of what we said. And because we started, you know, it's almost as if, in a way that feels right for you. Refer back to the previous video. You should see it layers up now, it comes together. And the head engineer will point you in the right direction of that dial, switch, lever, control, or slider, or whatever that feels right for you, that he tells you is the one that controls your cravings for sugary or fatty foods. Or it could be the one that controls the fears that have held you back in the past when you got shit scared seeing a spider. Or it could be the one that makes you feel nervous about talking in front of groups of people because it's currently switched off. And if it was switched on, your public speaking switch or dial, you know, if it was turned up to full positive power, it wouldn't bother you, worry you, or concern you as it once did in the past. So find that correct switch, dial, button, lever, or control in your mind's eye in a way that feels right for you. Take a few months to do what you need to do so you know that it's switched, and this is where you use your common sense. If they're doing something they shouldn't be doing, then they need to turn that power off or that switch off, yeah? If they're not doing something they want to do, let's say they're currently scared of public speaking, then they need to switch on the confident public speaking switch. If you're really wanting to amplify the public ritualistic process, you can have them switch off the fear of public speaking switch and switch on the confidence in front of people talking switch. Yeah? Personally, I just use the one, but you could use both if you wanted. And then I say to them, in your mind's eye, just imagine in a way that feels right for you, locking, gluing, welding, cementing, bolting, or fixing positively and permanently that switch that you've just altered, or that dial, or that lever, in a way that feels right for you, positively and permanently in the place it now is, so it can never return to the way it once was in the past when it used to bother you, or when it didn't enable you to do what you can now do and continue to do from this moment forward, so-called future pacing. Do you know what that makes sense? It'll make even more sense when you watch it back. Every single word I'm saying has a relevance. And if you want to understand the relevance of why I phrase things certain ways, you don't need to, because I've scripted it for you with Complete Mind Therapy. But if you did want to understand it and take your skills to the next level, you've got a choice. You can go on an NLP course, and then a master practitioner course, and a trainer course somewhere, and spend thousands of pounds, and you'll just about have an idea. Or you can join the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp, and you'll end up knowing more than pretty much 99% of the therapists out there in the bloody world today, except for the ones that I've taught, obviously. Because nothing comes close. And I will blatantly state names. Mike Mandel, if he was in England, I'd have his advertising closed down. No offence to Mike Mandel, lovely guy, originally from England, out in Canada or America, one of the two, Canada, I think. But his blatantly adverts are popping up on social media. The world's most comprehensive online hypnosis training library. I call Billy bullshit. He's not got anywhere close to a fraction of what's inside the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp, and that's just the material that features me. There also happens to be in the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp training from 16 other world-class experts, including from, if you feel it's important that you learn your NLP techniques from an officially licensed Richard Bandler NLP practitioner. Richard Haggerty's your man. His 28 days to hypnosis success training, which comprises over 50 hours of training videos and would sell as a course on its own normally. If you got it off Richard for over £1,000 sterling, it's worth every bloody penny of it. It's in the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp. Yours free. One-time membership to the bootcamp, you're in for life. Madness. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a rant there or sound like I was just advertising blatantly, but the fact is I've only got 2 or 3 minutes to the break, and I want to explain CMT in one go without breaking, because when you do it with a client, you do it as one thing, one session. You don't go, hey, let's have a brew break part way through. So actually, with that in mind, even though it's only 9:25 on my laptop clock, we're going to have the break early. So today we're going to stop now for 15 minutes, and we're going to start at 22 rather than 1:45, which is great because that'll give me an extra 5 minutes in the second half. Because today I want to, before we finish, have taught you the actual structure, what you do with the client after they've returned the questionnaire, after you've done the rapport stuff, what they do when they walk through the office door or a pop-up on your Zoom or Skype or other video platform connection. What you do with them before saying, ta-ra, goodbye, good luck in life, let me know how you're getting on regularly, please do send videos and testimonials and photos and all that, and send loads of clients this way. And for everyone you do, I'll give you a nice cash back hand, and we'll cover more about that tomorrow. So with that in mind, 15-minute break, see you back here at 22. Please feel free to talk amongst yourselves, and I'm sure Stuart will confirm what I said before about, you know, clients not having turned up who paid me in advance and me ending up in the pub early spending their money.
Oh,
and this
yes.
is just to finish. The fact is that I did eventually get hold of those clients. It's happened a few times. And they said, oh, I didn't bother showing up because I'd already stopped smoking a couple of weeks before I was due to come and see you, so I didn't see the point of travelling from Scotland. And I'll explain how I did that. That wasn't an accident, because the way I deal with smokers, most of them do stop before they ever come to the session anyway. Break time.
Actually, I had that happen once. I had a client pay me $500 for a non-smoking session. And the day of the session, he called me up and said, I don't need to come in.
No, he stopped.
No, he stopped smoking that morning. He didn't even bother coming in for the damn session. It's like, oh, okay, great. You paid me. So
I had a cab driver took me to my dad's house, and during the time it took me to pay my fare, he was a smoker. He said he'd never give up, and I said to him, you really need to give it up. And during the time it took me to speak to him while I was paying my fare, I just had a few minutes with him talk, and he told me his wife smoked as well, and I gave him a few tips about it, and he said that he would call me up and book me for a session, and the next time I saw him to get a lift to my dad's house, he said to me, you're an amazing man. I said, why is that? He said, well, after I left you, I went home and spoke to my wife, and we both quit.
Excellent.
did you say, where's my fee?
Yeah, well, he gave me a discount. He let me have £1 off my fare.
I don't mind helping people, even like that, you know, but yeah, it is nice if you can get some money out of it.
Yeah. All I said was, you need to quit smoking. I said, you don't even need me because you've got all the resources in you to quit smoking, and you know it's not good for you. And that's about the size of what I said to him.
But you were an authority figure stating something that he thought, but he wasn't sure about, and you just confirmed everything.
Yeah.
And that's what he needed. There you go.
Yeah. I took myself out of a lot of business because I've got to, I say too much.
In the past, I've been doing this stuff almost 20 years now, but in the past, I used to literally just fix people as I was walking and talking with them like you did. I've learned now to kind of just tell them that if we can get together, I can help you with this. When we get together, this can happen. So I do link it now. You know, come on. If I'm going to help them, at least I should get something out of the deal.
I've got to stop doing what I was doing before people told me I was a hypnotist, because I would just talk to people, and people eventually said, Keith, you must be a hypnotist. And because I didn't know, that's how I became a hypnotist, because I was dealing with people's issues all the time, because they're coming to me with their problems all the time. So I've got to stop doing that and start booking them the appointment first.
Yeah, but I agree with Alex 100%. You know, the difference between talk therapy and hypnotherapy, what is it? You know, do we actually put them in some special mind state, or do we just run them through a ritual?
Yeah. Well, I'm like Alex. I don't believe that hypnotism exists because I was doing it before I knew it existed.
Yeah, but does it matter? The point is, does that matter? Because that's a whole long, dreadful discussion about does it exist or not, and I did it before, and blah, 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 blah. The point is, are you helping people? Yes. Does anyone give a flying fuck how you do it? No. People don't give a shit how you do it as long as they get what they need to have.
Well, I was doing it. I mean, I wasn't charging for it. I didn't know I was doing anything until people told me I was.
Well, the point is, Keith, and you're right there, that it's a certain kind of people that usually become therapists that have already been the person that everybody goes to with their worries and troubles, and that are already helping people and sorting them out and whatnot. You just get a certificate to state that you're actually able to, and you hang it behind you on the wall because people want to see that piece of paper. It gives them confidence when they see it. Yeah, so
that's unfortunately, well, that's true. It's also unfortunately then one of the main reasons why most therapists are barely earning a living, because they're not. They're coming from a place where, whilst they can do it, they don't end up paying attention to, and sadly, 99% of courses don't cover it. They don't fuck all about marketing, advertising, publicity, and promotion.
Yeah. Well, I first started doing therapy when I was in hospital. I'd been mortally brain injured, and I had to recover from that. And they said, you're going nowhere, Mr. Taylor. But these were PhD doctors who couldn't get people walking. I was paralyzed from the neck down. I overcame that, although they told me I wouldn't. Then I started going around the ward and helping other people walk. And I'd been brain injured, and I was doing a better job than the doctors were.
But the point is that doctors need to shut up and watch their words, because they are hypnotizing people into believing that they cannot be healed, be helped, be cured, or whatever it is, because they don't know how to. But that doesn't mean that it can't be done. And they need to stop doing it. They need to start getting aware of what their words are doing for damage.
I don't normally swear, but I will on this occasion, because when I was on my hospital bed, the first thing they said to me, when I was paralyzed from the neck down, they said to me, "You're fucked." They didn't use those words, but that's what they were saying to me. And I said, "No way." Well, in fact, I didn't say no way, because at the time I couldn't even speak. I was completely messed up.
Yeah.
But luckily, I had this wonderful piece of kit called a brain, and I didn't listen to them with it.
For those people, I won't mention names because it's GDPR laws wouldn't allow me to. But certain individuals who are online now, you can remain quiet. Thank you. I've just got your message looking on my phone at the end of tonight. So at 11:30, when I go downstairs to have my end of event beer and wine down, I will set up your username and login details and stuff and send you all the links for the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp. That well, actually, there's 2 of you that are online now that have paid up during the past session. So yeah, I will do that and have it across to you before midnight UK time today.
Yeah, It's the best education I could ever hope for, being in hospitals around all those fuckwits. It taught me how not to be. When I get my I used to have a terrible, because I've been in hospitals, I've had some terrible phobias about hospitals and needles and that kind of stuff because of the way they do it. Because trust me, when I've been in hospitals, they've hurt me. But I've actually done surgery on myself, you know, deep surgery, because they wanted to cut my leg off at one point because I had a 15-inch gangrene on my left leg. They were going to cut my leg off. And I don't normally swear, but I told them to fuck off. You're not going to cut my leg.
Yeah, don't blame you.
And I went home and I did surgery on my own leg. And trust me, I'm afraid of pain. I don't like pain, but I don't like the idea of my leg being cut off either.
It's what I said. Which is the biggest pain or pleasure? Which one are you going to go with?
Yeah, so I just decided no pain. I'm doing this. And I went home and sat in my kitchen with a bowl, with some water in it and a spoon. And I'm thinking what I need here is maggots, because I thought they're intelligent. They eat away the bad stuff and leave the good stuff.
We don't need the gory details. We don't need the gory details.
Oh no, go.
I thought
No.
But that is not recognized therapy.
And I cut it all out.
Yeah, maggots are not recognized therapy for gangrene and things like that.
Yeah, it is.
What did you say?
I said maggots are now recognized therapy for taking out dead flesh.
Yeah, well, if you haven't got maggots, use a dessert spoon, because it's sharp enough and blunt enough to distinguish the difference between the bad flesh and the good flesh.
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
you can tidy up with the scalpel.
Just what I needed to know. Thanks.
Yeah. And I've still got the leg.
Can I just tell people, fear not, no names being mentioned, because I said there's several people online who sent me money in the first session. Just to clarify, I know I verbally slipped up once, but I did clarify afterwards that it's actually £197, United Kingdom sterling. The mention of dollars is the fact that it normally retails at $4,997, which you'll see that it does on the links that's in the group. But if you're looking Stay at Home and Hypnotize, the group, where it mentions the offer, it does clarify that it's 197 United Kingdom sterling. Anyway, we can sort that out later on. As I said, I'm not mentioning names. Right. Oh no, we've still got another 3 or 4 minutes before start time, so continue with your wonderfully disgusting stories, Keith.
Yeah, that was my point.
Actually, I don't know how many of you have tried to use pain control on yourself. I mean, I've done pain control on other people. And last year, I managed to catch my hand in a closing door. I sliced open my finger beautifully. So, yeah, it hurt. I ended up needing several stitches, but going to the doctor, it didn't hurt that much. But when the doctor, you know, they want to scrub it and clean it.
Ooh,
And then, yeah, and that hurts.
Yeah, of course it does.
So they started to try and put painkiller on it, but whatever painkiller he was using just didn't work on me. I'm here in Japan, and sometimes their medicines just don't work. So it hurt like a son of a bitch, and I told him, and he's like, "Okay, well, I don't want to give you anything anymore because it could be a bad problem." Wait. Told him wait 30 seconds. I put myself in self-hypnosis, took away the pain, and it's you can feel it, but it's happening, but it doesn't hurt anymore. It's uncomfortable.
Well, you need to know that it's happening. It doesn't have to hurt really bad, but you still need that slight reminder because you need to be careful with that finger or whatever it is that you have. The pain is there for a reason. Yeah.
Sure. But
it's there to draw your attention, but you don't have to hurt and suffer that much. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So he stitched me up, and then basically it started hurting again when he tied the last knot.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, now can I have some other painkiller?
I had to have some surgeries done last year, and I said I don't want a sedative, and I don't want any painkillers. I said just get on with it, and it was a colonoscopy. You know, it's just putting the camera up your back passage, and normally they give you a painkiller and a sedative, and there was these two lovely surgeons, female surgeons. And all the way to the table, they were saying, "Are you sure this is going to hurt?" And I'm saying, "No, I don't want to see what's happening. I want to be aware and check on you." And all the way to the table, they were saying that this is going to be really uncomfortable, Mr. Hurley. You're absolutely certain you don't. And when I was on the table, all the time they were apologising for every movement that they made, and I'm doing the best I can not to laugh at them all the time. Because I'm a hypnotist, and I've put myself into a trance state, and I'm laughing now thinking about it, because they look pale. I didn't tell you the story the other day, did I? They look pale because they thought that I must be in real discomfort and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like trying not to laugh while they're doing it, because I've got the two cameras there, and I'm having a fabulous time. And I could feel inside the pain and what the discomfort of it, but I was just turning it off because I'm enjoying the show. And I was actually able to guide them, and I was able to move to better positions to help the camera go in. And I was feeling that I was a lot safer because I wasn't heavily sedated and dopey. And it was a great show.
Well, after that, enlightening experiential story, it is now 9:41 on my laptop, so technically I'm a minute late in starting. So if we can do the obligatory mic muting, please, and we shall commence session number. I'm losing the plot, mate. Session number. How many days have we done of this? We're day 3, aren't we?
Yeah.
For day 3, this is session number 6. Yeah. Okay, right. Welcome back. Only because there was talk in the breaks of pain control and stuff. I'm not going to go into that in heavy depth here. Other than for people with long-term pain, yes, I do use the complete mind therapy session. When I say I use it, and I've used it with probably 99%, maybe more like 97%. I haven't totally kept track. But with the vast majority of clients, whatever it is, whether it's a habit, addiction, fear, phobia, emotional issue, PTSD from having been raped or being in a war zone, whatever, couldn't care less what it is, from A to Z, whatever. I use my complete mind therapy structure. Well, what I actually do is, as I say, we do this questionnaire stuff exactly as I've said. I just looked at some of the comments before, and I know there was one there from JT saying, "Well, yeah, it'll work for Jonathan Kennedy's British bad boy of hypnosis persona." You know what? Some of the most gentlest, quietest, mouse-like sounding, what I would say look like tree-hugging, arty-farty, winky-wanky, new age style therapists that I've taught this stuff to and said, "Do it this way." There's 2 ways of doing it, my way and the wrong fucking way. Do it this way and you will be more successful. And Stuart can probably have conversations with you either on Messenger there or in the group or whatever. He's witnessed certain people at events who've gone, tried it, as uncomfortable as it felt for them at first, and then it was in less than a week they're contacting, going, "Wow, why didn't I do it this way sooner?" They were getting better results. They were getting, for reasons you'll see tomorrow as well, they were getting more referrals. Because most therapists, even if they're good at getting results, don't get anywhere near the level of referrals they should be getting because they don't do certain things that I'm going to teach you tomorrow. So I personally use this CMT session for pretty much everything, unless, as I say, it's for a TV or radio show, where literally, if it's a live show, I might get there for a breakfast TV show. They might literally introduce me in the green room. If I'm lucky, an hour or 2 in advance, brilliant, I can do stuff. But sometimes they can be twats about it and not introduce me to the person that they want me to, under test conditions, treat until literally a couple of minutes before going on air, so I can't really do anything. On air, we don't really do anything other than maybe I might do a convincer, because we're not allowed to broadcast hypnotic induction in England anyway. But I might do something like the eyes follow thumb that's guaranteed to work, or the almond eye closure we went through yesterday, or something like that. Just so it shows the power a bit, and then off we get sent. Later on, they bring you back in the show. You've seen the format, surely. And you could have up to an hour, but you might only have 15, 20 minutes. You might have the next section and then the advert break before they're having you back on, or commercial break if you're in a different country. And that is when I will use something like spectacles, testicles, wallet, or watch over a light with me and move my finger, EMDR, blink, 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 or follow the watch in the circle, visual coding disorientation technique, or the Hogan, the eye movements, and so-called havening. Doesn't matter what label you give it. At the end of the day, it's just an important seeming ritualistic process that works because of that 0 to 10 plot I taught you yesterday. I'll do that, and then we go back on air, and I'm glad to say today it's never failed. Because it depends what your perception of failure is. I've had a person who started off as kind of a 10 or 11, who by the time we went on air was still saying they were a 3, and when they ended up holding the snake, they were asked how they felt about it. They said, to be honest, I'd sooner not be doing it, but I don't feel like my life's going to end like I would have done in the past. So I still regarded that as a success, and being a TV show live, I acted as though that's perfectly normal, and that's another key to being a hypnotist. Whatever happens, whether it's on stage or in therapy, never act as though you're surprised, because you're the expert. You've seen it all before. You've done it all before. Nothing's new to you. Always react as though, cool. So in that case, it was cool, but just imagine now, you managed to get down to a 3 in kind of 20 minutes. I normally see clients for 60 to 90 minutes, so we've only had a third of the normal time, but don't worry, you know what? Free of charge, backstage after the show, I will give you a proper full-length session so that we can take that down from the 3 to the 0. I then look good on TV or on the radio show, because they get a bit more attention and feel special because of the processes we spoke about yesterday and the day before. They end up getting the 3 reduced down to the 0, because they always could have done it anyway, and it doesn't look like a failure. But the way it's been structured anyway, it's down to them to prove they've done it right and all that kind of stuff. So it's about your reaction on stage. If somebody doesn't react the way you want, don't go, for fuck's sake. I've seen it. I've seen so-called professional stage hypnotists have an unexpected occurrence, somebody having an ab reaction, they've never had it before, and they were never taught about it when they were trained, and I will be covering that before the course is over, fear not. And they're just flicked into the freeze position of fight, flight, and freeze. Because fight is like, yeah, I'm going to hit this head on and deal with the problem. Flight is run away to get to a position of safety, and freeze is that, what do I do? Shall I run away? Shall I do something? I don't know. It's that confusion. It's arguably the hypnotic trance state. And there are some people out there who've done full studies on it instead, that they have brainwave pattern proof that it is the free state of fight, flight, freeze. Do I believe them? I believe that more than I do some other fucking studies. I'll tell you, it's closer to reality than a lot of the nonsense that's taught out there, but I still think it's effectively bollocks. They taught it from the point of view because pain is a bit like fear. We all know the acronyms: fear, false evidence against reality, false evidence appearing real, or, you know, face everything and rise, or fuck everything and run. It's describing the fight or flight there, but the others are saying that our perception of things really is what is the problem. And that's what everything we've talked about is about, helping people change their perceptions. Change that pattern matching in the brain we spoke about yesterday, the 8 tamed or the PET. So, before we get to the complete mind therapy structure, which will close today, and then tomorrow, well, we might get it done today, but if not, tomorrow we'll do the complete unconscious reprogramming of emotional disease and distress, and then we'll go into marketing, how to get clients, together with the safety and legal elements such as public liability, professional indemnity insurance, GDPR a little bit, and that kind of stuff, so that ultimately you will have everything to at least start earning as you're learning. Because obviously you can start seeing clients and then continue your studies with the stuff I've given you for free. And those people who are already in the boot camp can focus on the things, the areas they want to move into. Because nobody who buys the boot camp, I'll just briefly say, nobody will ever likely study everything that's in that boot camp. There's 30 years work there of mine. There's work, as I say, stuff from 16 other world-class experts, and there is over, I kid you not, well, it's well over 600 hours. It's close to 700 hours of training videos, about 500 hours of audio MP3s, probably somewhere in the region of 20,000 pages of written information at least. Websites, business building. No one will ever, and I don't expect anyone to study it all. The point of it is that you never have to spend another penny with anyone ever again. Because what you do with the bootcamp, if you're clever, because you've got free access to email me for help and advice at any time as a member, and if the answer's not in the bootcamp, I will take time to video call you or write out an email. But 99.9% of the time recurring, in fact, today I think it's 100% of the time, what I will actually do is turn around to you and say, what you've just asked, if you go into the bootcamp and look at this section called this, not only will you get your answer, but you'll learn more about it than you realise you actually do need to know to be truly successful at it. And then off you go and you just look at that bit in the bootcamp when it becomes relevant to you. So if you wanted to move into the niche of doing sports clients, sports psychology stuff, getting with football teams and famous boxers and stuff that I've done over the years, then I would answer your email and go, okay, look at the Life's a Game sports psychology video set, watch them. It will take you 12 hours, but look, if you do literally an hour a day for 12 days in less than 2 weeks, you'll have studied them all and you will know more than you will if you went and spent 5,000 bloody quid on this specialist NLP sports psychology course, guaranteed. So it's about you utilising your time, because not all of you want to be doing, I'll rephrase that, you might want to be doing the same things, but you shouldn't be doing the same things, as we'll cover more tomorrow, because you need to create and carve a niche so that you can charge an even bigger premium rather than being the jack of all trades. So, we're very nearly at CMT. I've covered about the control room in the mind. Use common sense. It can be used for anything and everything. Complete mind tapping we already did. Yeah, 2 others. The mirror stare silly voices method, as I like to call it, which again, these are things that I will either A, use in media scenarios, or in public in a bar if somebody asks for a bit of help. I might, if I'm feeling generous or I feel impressed enough by their large offers of free bottles of champagne or something, to be bribed enough to actually spend 10 or 15 minutes with them and go through an important seeming ritualistic process, in which case I may use the mirror stare silly voices method if it's if when I ask them some questions they say to me that, well, let me give you an example. Invisible client here. Okay, so why do you feel that you end up eating those sugary fatty foods and stuff? Because you know you can tell yourself consciously that if you didn't, you'd be a step further forward positively to losing weight, and if you did a bit more exercise, what is it? What happens? And if they, and quite often it will happen, they will say, well, it's like a voice in my head, my conscience, so, you know. And if they don't say that, I will suggest to them, and this is in waking state, I'll say, is it like you've got an internal voice and you've got a conflict? That little voice is going, go on, don't worry, you can always start the diet on Monday type thing. Pretty much, most of the time, people say yes to that. And it seems like you've read their mind a bit as well, so it's got that impact thing. At which point I say, I'll tell you what I want you to do is close your eyes and imagine yourself in a situation that you've been in the past, like seeing the sugary or fatty foods, and the internal voice going, go on, have it. You want that, the diet will start on Monday. That you've took seriously enough to then cave in and have the cake. Because we don't want that voice to ever bother you or affect you in that same way ever in the future, do we? Because you know consciously that that's bad advice. You know that, but knowing it wasn't enough. So we need to do something about it. So in your mind's eye, start to hear it saying those things to you. And then in your mind's eye, just imagine that you can find a button, a lever, a dial, a switch, or whatever in a way that feels right for you in your mind's eye, that it's almost as if you can turn that dial, that switch, that lever, or whatever in such a manner that the voice starts to sound really ridiculous. it's really stupid, that voice. Oh, it's telling you don't have a kid, don't do it. Oh no, it's telling you, do have one, it won't matter, it won't matter, it won't. And it's the most ridiculous sounding thing. And in fact, if you start to get that smile on your face, it's fine. It's fine to laugh and feel fantastic knowing how ridiculous that idea and that voice is, and how what you know consciously is in fact sensible, right, and the right thing to do, and that you find easy to do from this moment forward. Now again, if you understand, okay, do it, and I wait till they're smiling, because then I'll start going, well, it's ridiculous, you really, it's the most ridiculous voice. And NLP would call that changing the submodalities, the different levels of, you know, what they could hear, what they heard. Modalities is hearing, tasting, smelling, seeing, feeling, but then they have submodalities. Are they seeing in colour, black and white? Are they hearing it loud, quiet, close up, far away? By altering something, by changing what it is that's currently in their head, yeah, then you change the outcome. If it remains the same as it is, the results will remain the same. To get a different outcome, you have to change the initial what's going on. That's why it's called change work. The clue's in the name. So yeah, that's another method I use. And one final method I use quite often, which again would come under the banner of submodalities work in NLP. You don't need to know the fancy titles. That's all they are, the fucking titles that were made up to make people sound fucking important, so they could charge you thousands of pounds for courses to learn stuff that actually is largely common sense, but it's certainly, you can learn a lot fucking easier, especially if you find somebody like me. I know that sounds egotistical, but that is why I give a full 100% money back guarantee. Change colour, texture, direction, shape, etc. That's my memory aid. It probably has got a title some wanker made up to justify charging money for a course on it that lasts for a full weekend. I can teach you in 3 or 4 minutes. It's the idea, and this is brilliant with panic attacks and shit. It's the idea that, and it ties in with 8-tame. If you go back to yesterday's stuff, the 8-tamed or the pattern matching shit ties in metaphorically with that. In so much as people's feelings are just reactions to matched patterns that we spoke about yesterday. Refer back to that. So if we can change the pattern matching, we will change the feeling, therefore we will change the reaction and the result. Okay? That should make sense based on yesterday. So there is a belief that all things in life have a connected feeling of some sense, whether that's being calm, relaxed, confident, in the zone, stressed, whatever. Everything's got a connected feeling. People don't necessarily dwell on it consciously normally, but when it's something that's affecting their life negatively, then they do. So for example, and with common sense you can apply this to anything and everything, but I'll give you the example of people who have panic attacks. They tend to, quite often, I'm generalising, everyone's different, I know, but quite often they'll go, oh, it's almost as though it starts off, sorry, I'm going to have to jump up here because I'm off that camera, I'm on the other, but you saw my hand on my belly, it's kind of, they'll go, put my hand to the belly, but it's like something starts in my gut, and it feels like it's spinning, and then it'll move kind of up my body. Like it's spinning, and it moves down and spins and goes up, and they'll describe some kind of movement. Okay, it can be different for everyone, but they'll describe some kind of movement. And if you, as we said before, can change that movement to something different, then the reaction will be something different. So if the movement they describe that leads to a panic attack can be changed so that it doesn't ever happen again, in those situations that trigger panic attacks, it means it can't happen. So I would get them to close their eyes and I'd say, okay, what would you do? Imagine a time in the past when this used to really bother you. Get a sense of a feeling of it. We do the old 0 to 10 nonsense is also going to be used at the start and the end. This is the stuff that gets put in the middle, okay? I say, what would I like you to do? Get a sense of a feeling where that feeling starts. And then on the count of 3, when I click my fingers, just put your hand on that area, 1, 2, 3. And in this case, invariably, it would be the stomach, but that's not on screen. So we'll just pretend it's up here so you can see my hand, okay? And I say to them, okay, that's the area. This time on the count of 3, that feeling is connected to something inside. And I want you to imagine, as daft and as ridiculous as it sounds, as we've covered already, the more ridiculous something seems, the more likely it's to work, because people can only rationalise you'd only be doing something that daft if you knew it worked. So on the count of three, I'm going to click my fingers. I want you to imagine pulling out of you that feeling, and it will take on some kind of form, some kind of shape. It's different for everyone. There's no right or wrong answer. Only you will know what's right for you. 1, 2, 3. Imagine pulling it out now. And invariably, you'll see them do that, or sometimes they go, it doesn't matter. Whatever they do, you react as though that's perfectly correct, because then they will perceive it as being perfectly correct, and therefore it takes them down the path of it working for them. You say, that's fantastic. Now, with your eyes closed, but it's almost as if you can see what you've got in your hand, just tell me, will you, the following things. Take a few moments to get a sense of a feeling, and tell me, what shape is that in your hand? What shape is that in your hand? We're not saying what it is, because obviously we don't know what they've imagined. But what shape is that in your hand? And you write it down so you don't forget. Excellent. Which is kind of a piss take of Erickson, who always, he'd let the client talk and go, that's right. Yeah. Anyway, we go, excellent. Now, this time on the count of three, get a sense of a feeling of what colour it is. And just tell me, 1, 2, 3. What colour is it? Oh, yeah, so I've got to give you an example, haven't I? So let's say they said it was a square, a cube. And for the colour, they say it's, let's say, red. And then say, this time on the count of three, I want you to get a sense of a feeling by touching it in your mind's eye, what it feels like, okay? Well, the texture, actually, is it hard? Is it soft? Is it squishy? Is it what? 1, 2, 3. It's what? Well, it's really rough and spiky. So you've got a really rough and spiky red cube. Okay. Is it light? Is it heavy? Is there anything else you can tell me about it on the count of three? 1, 2, 3. It suddenly feels what? Really heavy. So it's a heavy, spiky, red cube, yeah? Nod your head if that's right. They do. That's an acceptance. Whatever they say is right. That's what you write down. Say, okay, in a few months' time, I'd like you to imagine in your mind's eye, on the count of three, in a way that feels right for you, that it's almost as if, whether you want to use a blowtorch, a pickaxe, an electric saw, a chainsaw, a gun to shoot bits off, it doesn't really matter. A blowtorch to heat it up so it changes from, being the texture it is. Whatever you need to do, whatever you feel right, so you can take that cube and change it into whatever shape you feel it needs to be, so that it can never bother you, worry you, or concern you as it once did in the past. Now, again, if you understand, fantastic. In which case, 1, 2, 3, take a few moments to do that and notice how much better it starts to feel. Excellent. This time on the count of three, when I click my fingers, I want you to imagine whether you're going to use sticky back plastic, crayons, permanent markers, paint. It doesn't matter, but in some way, I want you to change the colour of your shape as it is now. But incidentally, what shape is it now? Oh, it's round. Okay, fantastic. But it's still red, isn't it? So I want you to change the colour to a colour that you know can no longer bother you, worry you, or concern you in the way it once did in the past. On the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Nod your head when you've done that. When they do, excellent. What colour is it now? It's what? Yellow. Oh, excellent. So you've got a yellow ball now. Brilliant. Okay, this time on the count of three, you said it was spiky. What I'd like you to do, maybe you might want to use sandpaper, a blowtorch to burn the spikes off, sandpaper to grind them down. I don't know. It's up to you, whatever feels right for you. On the count of three, just imagine making the ball maybe smooth, getting rid of those spikes. 1, 2, 3. Now, nod your head when you've done that. Excellent. And finally, on the count of three, this time, you said before it was very heavy. So whatever you need to do to that, it may be that you put a syringe in and pull out some of its contents so that it has less mass and therefore becomes lighter. It may be actually that you fill it with some kind of magic helium that makes it lighter than air. It really doesn't matter how ridiculous it may seem. Whatever feels right for you, using your powers of intelligence, imagination, and concentration effectively, is perfectly right for you. Just do that on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Right now, and nod your head when you've done that. Excellent. So now you've got a lovely yellow, smooth, lighter than air ball within you, within your hand. What you need to do now is put that back where that used to bother you in the past used to be. We can't leave that empty void, otherwise you walk around in life feeling you've got a gap, something missing. We want you need to feel and be the whole person, the whole you. But know right now that when you put this smooth, round, lighter than air yellow ball into your body, it's all those things that are positively and permanently with you from this moment forward. They're all the right things to make you feel calm, relaxed, confident, safe, secure, and positive in all those situations that once used to bother you in the past. And only when you know for yourself 100% for certain, and only when it feels 100% right for you, I'd like you just right now to put your hand back towards the area of your body it was before and place that back in. Then nod your head. Excellent. Now we need to make sure that that can never fall out of your body, because it needs to remain there, but also we want to make sure it moves in the right direction. So before you magically either sew up, staple gun together, glue together, or whatever feels right for you, in an imaginary manner in your mind's eye, your body, so that that remains positively and permanently locked in place to help you, I want you to flick it in the correct direction so it moves the way you know it needs to move to protect you, to make you feel fantastic in all those situations that used to bother you in the past. And when you've done that, just nod your head. Excellent. And so you can carry on and then tell them to open their eyes. And hey, presto, scale of 0 to 10, bookend at the end. The number's gone down. Praise the Lord, they're cured. And yes, you can then confront them with what triggered them off in the past, and they won't react the way they did previously, especially if it's on TV, because really they want the 15 minutes of fame, and they know it'll look better to be cured. That's more saleable as a story to women's magazines. And if they know that, then they are far more likely to get cured in the short space of time that you've got. Which is conveniently coincidental, because I make sure that they fucking know that before we walk out onto the studio set. Even if I've only got 60 seconds with them, I go, you know what? When I've cured you today, you're going to be able to make a bloody small fortune from selling your story to women's magazines. Boom. Bribery, incentive, doesn't cost me a penny, but it also happens to be true. Yeah, it's the sad reality of TV stuff. In fact, there is in the boot camp a thing on treating celebrity clients, but more importantly, there's a section called "There's Still No Such Thing as Hypnosis." And if you watch that, TSNSTAH, there's still no such thing as hypnosis seminar. If you're in the boot camp, or when you get in the boot camp, I don't name names because I prefer not to get sued. But I do tell you enough to do Google searches to discover which television hypnotists and life therapists and life coaches regularly use what may as well be called stooges and actors and actresses on TV shows who claim to have certain issues and phobias that get cured during that television show. But in actual fact, when you go digging, they've previously in the past been cured and then relapsed, so they can keep selling their story to women's magazines over a period of a number of years. They're what television researchers like to call easy stories. Yes, it happens more often than you would like. Or, and this applies to a lot of the really big names, and I'm not saying that Paul McKenna's ever done this, okay? But I'm telling you that somebody told me that Paul McKenna had cured them of something during the NLP course that they'd been on. And then this person, who has worked as a therapist since that course, ended up going on the Ruby Back Show on BBC Two in England, apparently with the issue that had been cured at the course a period of time previously. Strange. But not strange that it managed to get cured of it on the TV show quick. Because what a lot of celebrity therapists, media therapists will do, not all of them, but a lot of them, is they will cure somebody in advance, supply that individual to the TV company, but before the show just artificially implant the idea that the person's got the phobia back so that they react correctly and shit scared when the spider comes out. But then they're not having to cure the phobia. They've only got to give a post-hypnotic, really, of this time when I awaken you, you're completely back to normal as you were just before we entered this TV studio here today. In other words, spiders don't bother you, you'll be happy to hold one. Wakey, wakey, rise and shine. And that's all they need to do, because they're not actually doing therapy, they're just removing arguably a suggestion. We'll give them the credit that that's what's happening, and that it's not that the person's motivated by the fact they get a night in a nice hotel, first class train paid for, or travel expenses, and 15 minutes of fame that makes them feel loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished and valued, like I said before. Although that is very close to the truth. I think I do actually name names in the boot camp. Anyway, complete mind therapy. Excellent. We're on time. 10 past 10. Excellent. So, they've, oh no, we've done the change the colour thing. The write it down and burn it. Trust me, I've got notes here, and I haven't done that. One other technique I will use, it's very visual for TV, but it's great in therapy as well, nearer the beginning, but I'll use this as a bookend thing. If they were coming to my office, I wouldn't use this as the full therapy, only because I could do, and it would work because of the 0 to 10 thing, but I wouldn't purely because they paid for an hour of my time. And if within 5 minutes I've cured them, yeah, they've got the result they paid for, but they might not feel loved, wanted, needed, and all those other things. They might feel a bit fobbed off, and that could lead to symptom substitution or relapse, whereas we make them feel really special on top of the world, and that's amplified every day by listening to the backup audio CD, which will be the CMT one, that focuses on making them, build them up as a human being so they don't relapse. But a technique I will use with the bookend 0 to 10 is to give them a piece of paper. That's what it is. And a pen, a marker pen. And I tell them, in your mind's eye, close your eyes, get a sense of a feeling of that issue that you want to deal with today. If it's an emotional issue, a trauma, or if it was a phobia, I'd say think about that phobia as it used to bother you. But rather than if you were scared in the past, again, I'm speaking as though they're already cured once they're in my office or on the call. If you were in the past scared of spiders, I don't want you to write scared of spiders on the piece of paper. I want you to give you this phobia or this issue or this habit or this addiction, or one word that sums up the way it makes you feel now. One word that sums up those regrets you've got, the self-blame, the inner anger of I wish I'd dealt with this sooner. All that self-blame, shame, guilt and regret that's built up within you over the years because you know you should have dealt with this sooner, it would have been better for you. Today's the day where you move forward in your life. So what one word will sum all that up. I don't need to know, this is content-free therapy as we call it. I don't need to mind rape you and have you relive this. I just want you to come up with one word, write it down on the paper, and then fold the paper in half like this, and in half again like that, so I can't see what's on it. And then tell me when you've done that. So you know I can't say anything, I'll turn my back. So they then write a word that symbolically means to them everything I've just said. They fold it in half. They fold it in half again. And I ask them to give it to me. And I say, notice that when I take it off you and pull it away, the more I pull it away, the better you feel about it, don't you? Because it's got no energy. But if I was to give you this issue back, this is everything that represents that issue that used to bother you in the past. If I bring it back to you, if I was to give you that back, and I was to let you leave this office today with that problem still in your life and those issues, you'd sooner not have that, would you? And not surprisingly, they'll go, no, no. So then you've already anchored them to the idea that close to them they don't want, a way they prefer. So you go, notice as I pull it away from you, it does genuinely feel better, doesn't it? You feel better about the idea of being able to leave that behind positively and permanently here today, so that it doesn't bother you as it once did in the past. That's true, isn't it? You genuinely can feel that. And they will be able to because of the way you've guided them with that. Watch the video again, use the kind of terminology and body language that I'm using. So, well, that's fantastic, but you know it's still there, so you know there's the possibility of it perhaps coming back at some point unexpectedly. The only way to know for certain you could be confident that this will never bother you, worry you, or concern you as it once did in the past, would be if we were to destroy that completely. That's correct, isn't it? So we can never bother you as it once did. And they'll go, yep, that's correct. Say, well, in that case, stare directly at the piece of paper, think of that word, because in a minute we'll destroy it. And when we do, and they'll think you're going to rip it up or something. When we do, that means it's a sign and a signal that can never bother you, worry you, or concern you as it once did in the past. Gone! Wow, that's weird. Did you just blink, 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 blink? Take a nice deep breath in through your nose. Then out through your mouth. In through your nose. Out through your mouth. Close your eyes and just try to get a sense of a feeling of how it used to bother you in the past. You were at number 8 or 9 before. Just try and get a sense of a feeling. Notice how much different that is because you've let go of that. Gone completely right now and just open your eyes. On 0 to 10, 10 up there, the worst it ever was in the past. 0 down here, nothing. Gone completely. Where down there is that number now? Generally, using that technique, I always get a 0. But at the very least, it will be a 2 or a 1. In which case you say, do you feel that's low enough for you to proceed in life happily, or would you like us just to get it down totally to 0? If they say totally to 0, then I'll do spectacles, tacticals, wallet and watch, or hugging, or eye movement, or something. But any important seeming ritualistic process. But that one's very powerful. All you need for it is, these are called, it is just literally a little, it's a book of sheets of paper that's about, I don't know what size I'd say, but it's in relation to my hand, that's how big it is. If you go online and you go on propdog.co.uk, propdog.co.uk, look under flash paper products, and then look for flash paper booklets. This is a booklet of flash paper. That's what it is. People can write on this in a Sharpie marker, and it just seems like it's thick tissue paper. The beauty is you do all that metaphor stuff closer and further away from them. Watch the video again. There's no tricks to it. If you do it, what I did, the way I did it, say the things in the kind of way I said them, then you will get the same result as long as you act as if you will and transmit that intent and confidence, because that's all it is. The key is that they think you may be going to rip it or something. They don't know this is special magic paper. So when you suddenly come up and let the flame apply and go, says me being too eager because I know it almost blinds me when I do it, and go, gone completely. The moment that flashes and they're staring at the paper, it, arguably, people who do EMDR and stuff would tell you that that flash, sudden and unexpected, it affects the amygdala and causes a release of any negative trapped emotions that are there. And I promise you, that's not a fucking joke. If you read bullshit like this, and I do so that you don't have to, okay? I don't suggest you get this book. Can I tell you now that I've already taught you more of use in the real world about EMDR with what I demonstrated earlier than there is in that entire fucking book by the person who apparently is supposed to be the expert on EMDR. But according to their theories, that sudden boom would have caused the amygdala to either instill some kind of post-traumatic stress disorder or to release it, depending on the context. And the context is the most important thing, because we've already set up a safe environment where you are the perceived authority figure, and that anything we do is already being anticipated with expectancy to be part of the therapeutic process, hence therefore it is beneficial to them. And we've already verbally, linguistically set it up, when you watch the video again, that yes, they prefer to let go of it. They don't want it back. They want to leave it behind positively and permanently. Yes, they agree it should be destroyed, so that when it does, and we also raise our voice and go, gone completely, the flash, the gone completely, and the hand movement, there's 3 things going on, so they're getting sensory overload, which even if you've done no formal hypnotic induction, you don't need it for this, because that will bypass the critical faculty analytical area of the brain and go directly into the computer bank and go boom, like an antivirus software, and get rid of the shit that was causing them an issue and give them permission to change and leave all that shit behind. It's very powerful. It works. Anyway, as I said, the vast majority of the time, I really should get a what do you call them? A coaster up here. Just let me get something to put this can on. Did I appear to be damaging one of my computer desks? We'll use a CD cover. That'll do. Yeah, I've somehow managed to stain the computer desk with a beer can. How's that work? Never mind. Let's put that there. Excellent. Right, complete mind therapy. We've covered the fact that they paid. Advertising we cover tomorrow. So you've got the client. They paid at the very least a 50% deposit, but ideally all of it. They've gone through the questionnaire process that I spoke about with strict rules. So they're starting to follow commands. They're attaching importance to it and all that kind of stuff. They show up. We get rapport using the rapid rapport technique that I've already told you about, so I won't repeat. We get them to basically sit down or lie down, because any issues that may alter this, I will talk about when we talk about ab reactions. This is for the 99% of clients where everything's hunky-dory. Not for that odd client who put something on their questionnaire that's a red light warning that says, shouldn't be treating this client, they really should be seeing somebody else, not me. We'll cover that at the end, but this is for the vast majority of cases. They show up, you get them to, now if they're at home, if you're doing it on a video broadcast, we'll cover that tomorrow, then you've got to tell them in advance that ideally to get their laptop or their device or wherever positioned so they don't have to hold it, so it's not going to fall on the floor, so that they can definitely hear at the very least, but initially so they can see ideally, but at the very least they need to be able to hear you whilst they're able to ideally lie down. I prefer them to be lying down because of that anchored connection of going to sleep at night, because my aim is to get them to go and feel like the magic's truly worked. In the rare occasions where they maybe don't go to sleep, this will still work for them because it's got every therapeutic trick in the book in it, but I do prefer it much more when they feel they've had the magic. We get them to lie down. Well, no. They've arrived, took the money, got rapport. I would generally, at this point, if they're with me physically, okay, I will generally at this point say we need to check that you're in the right state of mind for this, okay? So as long as you take this seriously, use your powers of intelligence, imagine all that bullshit we covered before, and I'll go through the eyes follow the thumb ritual with them, which is guaranteed to work. So it's proved to them that I say things, they imagine it, it becomes reality. Step one. Then I will, step two, probably, more than likely, use my tapping. But if I'm feeling that I'm bored with doing the tapping, then I might do the so-called havening. Or if I'm bored with that, I might do the MDR. Or if I'm bored with that, I might use the flash paper ploy. Whatever takes my fancy that day, so it adds a bit of variety and enjoyment for me. Because really, it's all about me, not the fucking client. Otherwise, if I get bored doing the session, it's no help to the client. I need to enjoy it a bit as well, so that I give my best to the client and actually take time to use the right voice tones at the right time and all that kind of stuff. Being selfish to be selfless. But that's with the bookend technique of the 0 to 10. So that's point 2. At this point now, the like critical faculty analytical area bypass, may as well give up type thing. So the power of 3, logically the third thing is also going to work for them as well, especially if they end up feeling like they've experienced hypnosis. So then I get them to lie down, get them to close their eyes, and tell them that just so long as you keep your eyes tightly closed at all times, unless I say otherwise, then this will prove to be 1,000,000% successful for you. And just so long as you use your powers of intelligence, imagination, and concentration effectively, then you'll find that something you once thought in the past may have been difficult to achieve will actually prove itself to be so ridiculously easy. Nod your head if you understand. And they nod their head, they're agreeing to keep their eyes fucking shut. That's excellent. At this point, I can dim the lights even more. So they're not aware that I've dimmed the lights even more at a conscious level, but it will help promote sleep. Read Dr. Herbert Benson's books, Relaxation Response and Beyond the Relaxation Response. I can add the heating up a bit, and I can tell them, you know, oh, I'm just going to put a blanket over your legs, I'll just drop it on you, it won't bother you, worry you, or concern you. If you're ever going to touch a client, tell them where you're going to touch them, when you're going to touch them, and how you're going to do it, and then only do exactly what you've told them you will do in the way you've told them you will do it, at the time you've told them that you will do it, so that they've already had the opportunity, if they wanted to say no. Because if they don't say no, and you say to them, you nod your head if you understand, which is acceptance, then it's fine if you told them in a moment, I'm going to lift up your right arm by lifting up your arm by the wrist, and then I'm going to drop it into your lap, and when I drop it into your lap, it will just help you sink down, drift down 100 times deeper, more relaxing and enjoyable for you. You've got to tell them where you're going to touch them, how you're going to touch them, when, where, and how. And then say, nod your head if you understand, so you're getting consent and understanding. Very important, both morally, ethically, and to stop them suddenly going, what the fuck's going on? And undoing all the good work you've done. You don't want that. So, where are we up to on this list here now? It's now the induction. Now, if you want to, this is where you can also give yourself some pleasure and enjoyment. Ultimately, the bottom line is to tell them to close their eyes and keep the bloody things closed. And from that point, you can go into the long, drawn-out, progressive muscular relaxation induction. If you've got somebody who says they want you to use a swinging watch, swing the watch a bit, and then tell them, and now close your eyes down, and then use the same phraseologies I've told you before so that they don't open their eyes. Or if you want to practice a rapid induction, because you might be thinking about doing a bit of public demonstrations, then fine, this is the point to do it, because before you tell them to close their eyes, because if for some reason they don't go under or react the way that you want them to, it's fine, you just react as though that's perfectly normal and can go, excellent, that tells me exactly what I need to know, and you know what? This is going to work for you today, so just lie down on the couch and close your eyes, and you go into it as though it doesn't bother you, it's completely normal, and therefore they'll respond as though, hey, this is going completely to plan. But if they do go under, so to speak, then you can just react by going, that's fantastic, from this moment forward, just so long as you keep your eyes tightly closed. So it gives you an opportunity in arena to practice, if you wanted to, rapid induction techniques that are taught in the boot camp in a no pressure, can't fail scenario, which, because you know you can't fail, means you will have more confidence, which ironically and paradoxically means you're more likely to be successful doing it. And then as you get used to it and realize that it is all about just confidence and use of certain psychological and physical trickery techniques that you can learn if that's your thing, it's the perfect time to try one of them out, because if it doesn't go the way you want it, you can just go, excellent, that tells me what I need to know, and it tells me that this is going to be brilliant today. So just lie down on the magic couch, close your eyes, and you go into it. You just react as though it's perfectly normal. If you do that, the client doesn't know any better, because remember, you're the expert with a piece of paper on the wall, that you're the person they've already paid a sizable fee to because of your advertising, which and your social proof of success. So they're there then with their eyes closed on the couch, however you've got there. Don't worry, I will briefly tomorrow teach you one or two rapid induction techniques as well. I won't leave you totally hanging, but if you want to become a master of them, then there is unrivaled training in the boot camp, because I will teach you stuff the way other trainers don't. They'll tell you it's a rapid induction, it works on the psychological level. No, it fucking doesn't. If you're doing it right, it works, because there's, to all inductions, there's some level of physical trickery and physiological trickery, whereby if you do things in the right way, and sadly a lot of trainers teach things wrong, or they just don't understand how they're supposed to work, then you can be guaranteed that people will feel certain physiological effects in their body when you apparently suggest to them they will, because of the physical trickery that you use. But because you know it's guaranteed to happen, you can apparently make suggestions that in a few moments' time, you're going to feel X, Y, Z. And then when they feel X, Y, Z, their only logical conclusion is, as has happened before, that you say things, they imagine it, it becomes reality. So that must be happening again. And when their mind attaches to that, that is where you get critical faculty analytical area bypass, and you're in with the unconscious, subconscious. It's so-called hypnosis. So every single induction, I teach probably about 30 different ones inside the boot camp. Rapids, I mean, an instance that I teach the ones that the trainers are teaching wrong. So if you think you already know rapid inductions, trust me, I can teach you properly in the boot camp so that you never fail. Because not only will it be presented in a manner where it's never your fault, it's theirs, but also I can guarantee the worst case scenario, if somebody, when you suddenly go sleep, shake their hand or whatever, doesn't immediately close their eyes and go into zombie state, I am saying that tongue in cheek, the worst case scenario is you can immediately say to them, wow, I think you got a little tiny bit scared there by the sensations you were feeling. Just tell us what you felt. And they always do in the times that happen, say, well, you know, you said I was going to feel this sensation here in my body. Well, I bloody well did. And yeah, it did scare me a bit, because that's always the case, because of the way I've structured tricks into all of those techniques so that they genuinely feel something physiologically. I'll teach you one or two of them tomorrow, fear not. Back to complete mind therapy, because for this, our induction is merely the boring muscular relaxation induction, where effectively, I'm not going to go through it word for word, because otherwise that would take 20 minutes, 15 to about 15 minutes alone. What I'll tell you is that I tell the person to imagine in their mind's eye, and I use better wording than this, and the reason I do, it's more precision. You'll never get better than the wording that I'm going to tell you to use. I'll come to that in a minute. But what that wording effectively tells them to do, but in a way that cannot be equaled or improved upon, because it's got embedded commands in, it's got metaphors, it's got every psychological technique you could possibly think of. So you don't even have to understand how those psychological techniques work. As long as you use them at the right time in the right way, they will work. I've done all the work for you. Is that ultimately we're just going to get them to imagine different muscle groups in the body, starting at their toes, then their feet, then the lower leg, the upper leg, the hips, the chest, the lower back area, upper back area, the neck, all the way up, down their arms to the fingertips, and then the face and the jaw and the forehead. And we mention each different muscle group each time. And I tell them to imagine, as they visualize that in their mind's eye, that it's almost as if they can see the muscle groups are like pieces of rope tied together in knots. And those knots metaphorically represent all the stresses, tensions, worries, fears, and apprehensions of days, weeks, months, and years gone by that have been holding them back in life. And in a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 3. I'm going to count to 3 when I click my fingers like that. I'd like them to imagine in their mind's eye, visualizing all of those knots untying. But before we do that, what I'd like you to do, because we're starting on your feet, is to physically tense your feet up. Excellent. And that's a sign and a signal that you're imagining the ropes tied together as knots. Now, on the count of 3, as well as imagining the knots untying and becoming separate, loose, limp, relaxed, so heavy and so tired pieces of rope. I also want you at that moment, that very same instant that I click my fingers, to just let all the tension go out of your feet and release that tension that you put in them. Not yet, if you understand. Excellent. Then we're going to do that with different areas of your body. So starting with your feet, tense your feet. That's a sign and a signal of all those knots, pieces of rope tied together as knots, representing all the stresses, tensions, worries, fears, and apprehensions of days, weeks, months, and years gone by. 1, they're starting to rapidly untie. Sorry, I screwed up myself there. We're going to count backwards from 3 to 1. I'll come to that in a minute. That's because I've not got my script in front of me. Yes, I use a script for this. I'm going to count backwards from 3 down to 1. And on the count of 1, when I click my fingers, we'll separate. So I'll go 3, they're starting to rapidly untie. 2, becoming so limp, so loose, so relaxed, so heavy, and so tired. And on 1, just let all that tension go now. So limp, so loose, like a loose, limp rag doll. That's excellent. Now it's almost as if, in a way that feels right for you, that's calm, safe and secure, there's some kind of sensation. Maybe it's a warmth, maybe it's a positive, happy tingling that moves from your feet to your ankles into your lower leg areas. Now tense up your lower leg areas and just imagine those knots tied together. And now 3, the knots start to rapidly untie. 2, so limp, so loose, so relaxed, so heavy, so tired. 1, just let that tension go. And I could carry on. We do the same with the upper legs, the hips, the lower back, the stomach area, the shoulders, the arms, the wrist, the fingertips, the jaw, the head, the face, the brow, the whole body. Tips of the toes, tips of the fingers, everything in between. Do it each area in pretty much the same way. And each time I use the stereotypical voices that and just let them go, drifting down, sinking down. So limp, so loose, so relaxed, so heavy and so tired. As the deeper you go, the better you'll feel. And the better you feel, the deeper you go with every breath that you take. Every noise that you hear and every word that I say merely serving as a sign and a signal to help you relax more completely. And you realize now that any noises don't bother you, they just allow you to drift down, sink down, deeper and deeper. Oh, so tired. And yes, I'll yawn, so it sounds weird to them. And because yawning's infectious, even if their eyes are closed. And together with the darkness and the warmth and the aromatherapy oils and the winky wanky new age music and the boredom of the 15 minutes of going through the body and the fact, as Dr. Herbert Benson mentions in Relaxation Response and Beyond the Relaxation and Response, and as is mentioned by Jacobson, with Jacobson's progressive relaxation method, which is to tense the muscle groups and then physically release them. We combine the fact that if you tense your feet now, if you really tense your feet, and curl up your toes and all that, and hold it for a little bit, and then just let it go, notice you feel a genuine, oh, that's good, that's better to let it go back to its normal position. Now, in truth, it might just feel like it did before, but you weren't as consciously aware of what it felt before as you were when you tensed it. So when you release it, you then become aware that it feels better than it did when it was tensed up. So in your mind, it's processed that you're genuinely feeling a sense of relaxation. I've suggested words, you visualize them, it becomes reality. It's step 3 of that power triangle we spoke about. And it happens with all the muscle groups through the body. So by the time you've got to the end, they've probably nodded off to sleep. But if they haven't, they're definitely in so-called hypnosis, because we've got critical bypass a long time ago, a hell of a long time ago. Arguably, we had that before they were on the couch with the bookends of 0 to 10. Arguably, we had it before they came through the door, through our advertising, marketing, and what we've charged them, and our perception and prestige that attach to us. But anyway, we go through the full body. The script for that, I'll mention in a minute. I used to use the one from the APHP, but now I use the one that's in the Complete Mind Therapy package, which actually I think is the same script from the APHP for the Progressive Relaxation Induction, to be honest. So once we've gone through the full body, I say to them, that's fantastic. You're so deeply relaxed, or you're so deeply asleep that anything I suggest to you now will happen for your own good, will happen for your own good. And anything I suggest to you that you will do from this moment forward as an automatic reflex action in your everyday life will automatically happen. In fact, you'll awaken each morning with an inner glow of confidence, a renewed optimism to life, a more positive attitude to get things done. And you'll find that with every breath you take, every noise you hear, every thought that you think of everyday life, every stimulus around you will just somehow have this magical positive benefit of serving as a sign and a signal for you to continue as the XYZ that you have now become and continue to be. Future person. But I'm now talking directly to your unconscious now. Slightly raise my voice for your unconscious now, because some would argue it's an embedded command that the unconscious. I think that's bullshit, but hey, it always makes me have a bit of a giggle when I do it anyway. But to make sure that we're totally at a level where our work here today together will be 1,000,000% beneficial for you, we need to make sure you're at the perfect level. So, as I talk to your unconscious mind now, I'm going to count backwards again. We counted backwards when I remembered my script from 3 to 1 for each of the muscle relaxing. This time I'm going to count backwards from 10 down to 1. And on each count backwards, I want you to imagine in your mind's eye in a way that feels right for you, that it's almost as if you can see a staircase of relaxation that takes you down in a calm, safe and secure manner to the world of your dreams and your imagination. 10. We're going to start that journey down into the world of your dreams and imagination. As the deeper you go, the better you feel, and the better you feel, the deeper you go, drifting down, sinking, and all this bollocks. And so it goes on with different things being said for each number going down to the number 1, telling them each time that they've gone 100 times deeper, more relaxing and enjoyable and all that. You don't need to know it perfectly. That's the basic structure. You could make it up, or you could use the precision-honed script that I've given you, which is what I do to this day. Once I perfected it, I cut out all the shit, so there's only words there that are necessary, so that everything has an impact. So then they're down at the bottom of the staircase. Excellent. And on the count of 1, that's the staircase relaxation deepener, it'll be called, in the CMT course notes that you've got. And then we say to them, now in your mind's eye, you just kind of imagine it's almost as if you're looking around, and in the distance of the world of your dreams and your imagination, you see a warm, comfy, inviting, fantastically magical looking bed that's calm, safe and secure. I always put in the calm, safe and secure bit, because for all we know, this person might sleep on a rug on the floor, because although they come to us to stop smoking, they got raped on a bed and they will never get on a bed since. It's an extreme example, but I'm just saying, by putting in calm, safe and secure, it avoids abreactions. So it's almost as if they can imagine what they like, they can imagine the rug they normally have if they want to. It's almost as if in the background you can see a warm, comfortable, inviting, magical bed. So imagine in your mind's eye right now walking towards that, and as you do, you become ever so much more sleepy. Looking forward to a wonderful, and yes, I do talk like this, so it's yawny. Believe me. I do that because then they do, and it promotes genuine sleep, which is what I want. That's my outcome, desired outcome, and then they feel the magic. And imagine going up to that bed, getting into it, putting the covers over yourself in a way that feels calm, safe, secure, so warm and comfortable. Oh, drifting down. Imagine putting your head on the pillow, closing your eyes in your mind eye, and just go to sleep right now in the world of your dreams and imagination. That's fantastic. That's what we call the warm, comfy bed technique, deepener, in the course notes when you refer to it, but there is a full worded script for it, so you don't have to make it up. And you start to dream now in your mind's eye. You feel calm, safe and secure. As you realise that in this dream, it's almost as if you're in a classroom. But we said calm, safe and secure because people have bad childhood memories. This way, it isn't going to cause an abreaction. It's almost as if you're in a classroom or a training room, but in a way that's calm, safe and secure, that feels right for you. And you can see a blackboard. If you want to be politically correct, use a whiteboard and a dry erase marker if you want. I don't. I use a blackboard with chalk. Shoot me for it if you think that's racist. It fucking isn't. We've got too politically correct, but you can always use a whiteboard and a dry erase marker metaphor if you want instead. But then you have to rewrite that part of the script. Could I use a blackboard and chalk? So imagine in your mind's eye that you see a blackboard in the classroom, and written on that you notice is a word, one word. And that word, the moment you look at it, you've got a sense of recognition. It's a sense of recognition that doesn't bother you, worry you, or concern you as it would have done in the past. But it just reminds you of all those things that used to bother you, disassociation and future pacing, used to bother you in the past when X, Y, Z was an issue. You can fill in the blank. I'll tell you how to really refine this again in a minute before the end, but generally speaking, that is the school blackboard method, where we then say, and you see one word and it represents all that self-blame, shame, guilt and regret connected to this, all those negative feelings, thoughts, memories and emotions that you kind of want to, they're not going to disappear. You will be able to remember them if you wanted to, but they won't affect you, bother you, worry you or concern you in the way they once did in the past. Just nod your head if you understand. Now, they'll either nod their head or they'll be snoring by now. Either's good. If they nod their head low, it means you need to hike the heating up a bit more and start really drawing out your words more to bore the fuckers to sleep. Now in your mind's eye, as you see that word, I don't need to know all the issues, but I do need to know what the word is. So on the count of 3, you'll be able to tell me what that one word is that you see on the board. 1, 2, 3, what's that word? And you might have to listen really carefully because they may say it, but really quietly. But you find out, you repeat it back to them, get them to nod their head. If they don't nod their heads, if they don't say a word, proceed as though you've heard something, and then you have to kind of go, well, that word you've just told me, see it on the blackboard, and imagine starting to rub it out one letter at a time. It's better if you know what the word is, if they're still awake. Personally, it's better if they don't end up telling you because they've gone to sleep and you can hear them snoring. I much prefer that. Then I would just continue with imagining in your mind's eye that, especially because if it's via Zoom, say, for example, the session could be being recorded and we don't want them to realise that they've just gone to sleep, weren't consciously aware of you saying stuff and that you stopped talking and surf the internet for a while before waking them up. Which would work if they couldn't get any evidence that that happened, which unfortunately they could. If they were, you know, it might be your end you're recording to send to them, but for all you know, they might have screen capture software running on their laptop to record the session without you knowing. So it's not worth the risk. In that context, you've got to actually carry on talking as well you're doing the session. I'm not saying that in the boot camp you'll ever see me doing any real life therapy sessions where once I know they're snoring, I just play a recording of the session to them. Not saying that at all. But it would work if you did. As long as they can't get evidence that's what you've done. So, imagine in your mind's eye, erasing that. If they told you the word, you can say the word and you tell them that one by one from the end of the word. So if their word was spider, just because it's easier for an example, it won't be, but imagine rubbing out the final letter, R. It helps if you write it on a piece of paper in front of you and cross them out as you say it, so you don't have to mentally in your head think it yourself. Rub out the letter R with the chalkboard, you know, the blackboard wiper. And as you do, you notice you start to feel less of a connection that that used to bother you, worry you, or concern you in the past. And now take the letter E, and you do each letter backwards, and you do it backwards so it seems weird, so it has an apparent importance connected to it. That's the school blackboard method. So arguably, if you do believe in deepening trances, I don't, but if you do, we've done a staircase deepener, we've done the warm, comfy bed deepener, and we've done the almond blackboard word deepener. And if you believe in all that trance nonsense, by now they should be in pretty much an Esdale state where you could cut them open and stick needles through them. And yes, I have done that, and yes, you will see it in the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp on genuine people, in front of people, me sticking needles through the body, them not flinching, feeling a single thing. I don't suggest you do it because it's totally unnecessary. I just did it to prove it could be done, and would do again for the media, but it's not necessarily with clients. Unless they used to have a fear of needles, and the total proof to them after the session is that without them feeling anything, you can put a needle through them, give them a photograph, and they feel fantastic about it. But if you did that, make sure you sterilise needles, health and safety, perhaps involve a proper nurse, so that you're covering yourself legally, ethically, morally, safely, and all those things. You proceed at your own risk, as it were. So the school blackboard method's been done. They, if you believe in the trance stuff, are now fucking mega deep. They're not, they're actually snoring, 99% of them, if you've done this right and followed my script and delivered it in the right way. If you've used the right winky wanky music in the background, if you've hyped up the heating in the room, if you've used aromatherapy oils, if you've dimmed the light so it's only a candle light or a very dim lamp, if you've covered their legs with a blanket, maybe one of the Association of Complete Mind Therapists branded blankets for your therapy office that you can get from Hypnotic-Consultants. That's Stuart Cassells. He's a member of the Stay at Home and Hypnotize group. You'll find his details in the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp as well. You'll also find him on hypnotic-consultants.co.uk. But in the group, he has posted a link to the branded ACMT merchandise that you can get. So it further not just keeps their legs warm and stops you getting upskirt views, but and helps promote them going to sleep, but it also builds up the prestige and credibility of everything being professional and stuff in your office. At this point, we then do the therapy because we've still got more time to kill. The forms of therapy used are the use of direct, positive and negative suggestions. A bit of common sense is used here, but effectively, this is telling somebody who's doing something they are currently doing that they don't want to do, that they will find it ridiculously easy to stop doing it and highly pleasurable to do other stuff instead. So it becomes painful to do it, pleasurable not to do it. If they are not doing something they want to do, you make it painful not to do it and pleasurable to do it. It's rewiring the pain and pleasure. I explained it more yesterday. That is what slots in there. That's how you can create your own positive or negative suggestions relevant to whatever issue they say they've got from A through to Z. If you want to personalize the script, there's no need to for reasons I'll explain, but if you feel personally yourself that you'd feel more confident using this structure, knowing that you made it even more personalized to the client, then there is the section where it's in the script, there's generalized negative and positive direct suggestions that you can tweak so that rather than talking in general terms and letting the client fill in the blank, you know they've come to stop smoking, for example, so you can throw in stuff like, you no longer need, won't crave, or desire for cigarettes or tobacco in any way, shape or form. In fact, when you see the government health warning on a packet of cigarettes in your unconscious mind, it now reads, smoke, choke, death and disease. There's a whole bunch of examples in the scripts that are in the APHP original hypnosis course that I gave you bonus access to in the group yesterday, the one that I first started trading from in 1989. So impressed I bought the company. We then use aversion therapy, which is making something so positively disgusting that they don't want to do it. So obviously if they're doing something they want to stop, you're going to make it disgusting for them to, sorry, they're doing something they want to stop, so they want to give up drugs, for example. We're going to make it absolutely abhorrently disgusting on all levels for them to carry on doing it. If currently they avoid doing something like public speaking, but they want to because of the job benefits there, we've got to make it abhorrently disgusting to remain the shy individual who avoids doing it and massively pleasurable to do it. And we use those techniques. There's non-specific techniques in the script that if you use as is scripted will work, and that is what I use 99.9% of the time recurring, because frankly I can't be arsed spending time personalising it for each client. I could do off the top of my head if I wanted, but I just can't be fucking arsed. And it still works. Then we use the pain and pleasure therapy principles told you about, really just more of an extension of aversion therapy. The more disgusting, obscene, graphically ridiculous the imagery is, the better it will work for reasons we've already explained. Then we use the TV set, get rid of the past visualization, where ultimately I tell the client, I want you to now imagine in your mind's eye that you look into the distance and you see a television set plugged into the wall and there's something playing. You can't quite see and hear it yet. So in your mind's eye, in a way that feels right for you, start walking towards it. And as you do, you start to realize and notice that on that screen is an image of yourself as you once were in the past. when you were smoking 40 cigarettes a day, or when you were taking 100 quid's worth of cocaine in an evening, or whatever. You fill in the blank with what's specific to them if you want to make it completely personalised to them. However, I've been clever enough to write the script so that it's worded in manners such as see an image of yourself on there as you once were in the past, without that bothered you, worried you, and concerned you, that today you're leaving behind forever. This is a memory of what it used to be like in the past. And they know what they're there for, so they will visualise something that's relevant and make it 100% personal and specific to them without you having to do anything other than read the script I've supplied you with and honed over the best part of 30 years. So what ultimately happens is they imagine seeing an image of themselves getting closer to the telly, and we're saying, realise now in your mind's eye, you no longer want any connections to these thoughts, memories, emotions, or triggers, ideas, or things that in the past used to bother you. So imagine in your mind's eye turning down the volume on the television so that the volume starts to fade until it's gone completely. And now in your mind's eye, imagine turning down the brightness so the image fades away until it goes so dark that it's gone completely. And in fact, turn down all the other dials, the image, the sound, and everything you know has gone completely. Although you know that that television set's still switched on. So I'd like you to imagine in your mind's eye anyway that just, you know, feels right for you. Switch it off. Yeah, excellent. But it's still getting some kind of power because it's plugged into the wall. So, you know, imagine unplugging it. Excellent. But we don't want anyone to ever be able to come along and plug it back in. Now, trust me, the wording in the script is far better than this. I'm making it up as I go along now because I haven't got my script in front of me. When I've got a client, I use the script that I've given you. I promise you I do. The one that you will hear me using on the audio MP3 that I've also given you and on the video that I've given you in that package because it's honed to precision, whereas this, I'm just vamping it. And now in a way that feels right for you so that nobody can ever come along and plug that thing in. Nobody can ever give it any negative energy ever again so it can never bother you as it once did. Just imagine destroying that television set positively and permanently and everything that it used to stand for. Maybe you want to take a chainsaw to it, slice it up, maybe you want to set it on fire, maybe you want to blow it up with dynamite. It doesn't matter how you do it, but whatever feels right for you, take a few moments to positively and permanently destroy that television set and all it ever stood for. And then just nod your head when you've done that. Now, obviously, if they're snoring, they won't nod their head. You just leave it a while and then carry on. But if they are in hypnosis rather than alleged delta state, they're in theta rather than delta, then they'll nod their head. But if they don't panic, just leave it a minute or two and go, excellent. And now that you've destroyed that television set positively and permanently, I'd like you to imagine, that's incidentally the TV set, get rid of the past visualization. I'd like you to imagine now in your mind's eye that you can see what is almost like a measuring stick, a ruler. But it's a bit of a funny measuring stick, a ruler. It's actually a little bit like a thermometer in so much as it's got the number 0 at the bottom and 100 at the top. And you realise as you walk closer to that in your mind's eye, again, the script's far better than this, a million times better. I'm too lazy to learn it word for word. Why should I? Once the eyes are closed, I can read the script. And these days, I don't even have to get it out of a briefcase. I can use free auto cue software that you can download, but free auto cue software or into the internet. Download a free piece of software and you can open the PDF in that and have it scroll on screen at a speed that's right for you and you can control it so that you've got it in really big text so it's dead easy to read. So it's silent as well, there's no rustling paper. Okay, so imagine that measuring stick, 0 at the bottom, 100 at the top. And if you get closer to it, you realise this is a measuring stick of self-confidence, self-image, self-esteem, and self-control, which as we know is also willpower, self-control, but we say these things because the unconscious knows what they are. Does this sound familiar with what we've been saying since the start about making them feel better? It's a measuring stick of self-image, self-esteem, self-control, and image, esteem, control, and confidence. Yes, those are the 4 foundations that lead to positive self-worth. And at the moment, you notice that unfortunately, they're not fully at 100%. We can say that with confidence because if they were, the person would be fully confident in life and not need a crutch or an issue. They wouldn't be scared of anything. They wouldn't be with us if they were at 100%. So we can confidently say that. So in your mind's eye, you notice that it's almost as if the mark, it's like a thermometer with mercury in, and the hotter that gets, the more it rises up. So we need this to be ideally at 100%, so that from this moment forward, you've got 100% self-confidence, willpower, self-esteem, self-image that grows stronger each day and gives you all the inner resources you need within you, like a large inner reservoir of all the personal qualities that enable you to live life as the perfect you. But to do that, we need to get that measuring stick to 100%. So in a way that feels right for you, I'd like to imagine heating up the mercury in that measuring stick. Maybe you use a blowtorch. Maybe you set a bonfire. Maybe you rub it with your hands. I don't know, whatever feels right for you, do it. And I want you to keep doing that and notice now it's going from kind of 20, 30 to 40%, 45, 50%. And the more you do it, the higher it raises. It does start to notice those feelings of confidence inside growing stronger and stronger. So as it gets closer to 60 and 70, it feels 10 times better than that time in your life when you gave birth to a baby and felt on top of the world. Or whatever other piece of information they put in their questionnaire. Yeah, I'll cover more about linking the questionnaire in shortly. And I've forgotten to do that prior to that bit, which is easy done when you haven't got your script in front of you, just bullet points. Great, that's brilliant. So 100% now, so in your mind's eye, in a way that feels right for you, you need to lock, glue or weld, cement, bolt, fix permanently and positively that at 100%. So your self-confidence, image, esteem and control can never fall below 100%. Maybe you'll use a staple gun, hammer and nail, screwdriver, the world's strongest super glue. I don't know, but whatever feels right for you on the count of 1, when I count backwards from 3 down to 1 and click my fingers, I want you to lock it, bolt it, cement it, fix it. Whatever feels right for you in place, positively and permanently, right now. 3, 2, 1, boom! And I will make weird sound effects, because it's like the magic's happening. That's fantastic, and as that's now, you know, it's positively and permanently locked in place, you can just fade off into your unconscious mind, so that every morning you can awaken with an inner one and bullshit and waffle like the script says. Just read the script. There's a section where if you want to, you can do some ad-lib therapy, 100% relevant to their issue. This is the point, and you'll see that in the running order that I've given you. This is the point where I might sometimes say it was a PTSD case, a rape victim who suffered child abuse. I may use inner child therapy at this point, slot it into the CMT script, which ultimately, in a nutshell, is to get them to imagine in the mind's eye that in a few moments' time, I'm going to place what, if you had your eyes open now, you would know was just a cushion. But when I place that cushion onto your lap, so you can reach it with your hands, in your mind's eye, in a way that feels right for you, I want you just to imagine in your mind's eye, the moment I place that cushion in your lap, that it's no longer a cushion. It's actually you, and it's you at the age of 6, 7, whatever information they're given in their questionnaire about when this nasty shit went on. And I go now, I'm going to place the cushion onto your lap in a few moments. Not yet, if you understand, fantastic. So you've got consent, you put the cushion down, and or you could have started off with the cushion at the side of them on the couch and instruct them that they will reach to the side of them and get the cushion. And you say, now imagine in your mind eye that you're giving a cuddle, a hug to you, the younger you, the 6-year-old you, or whatever age was relevant. And I want you to just take a few moments for yourself, for the benefit of the 6 or whatever year-old you, to tell the younger you exactly what you would have wanted to hear, what you needed to hear then. The things that would have made it easier to move forward. Because whilst you know now consciously in life that logically it shouldn't bother you, worry you, or concern you in the ways it has been doing up until now, the trouble is Your unconscious mind is like that little child, is like the little you at the age of 6, who still feels damaged, who feels a sense of blame or shame or guilt or regret, or maybe it's just that they feel alone, forgotten, unloved. So whatever needs to be said, whatever needs to be done, perhaps give them a cuddle, perhaps stroke their hair, tell them it's okay, young David, or obviously whatever the person's name is. When you grow up, you do survive, everything can be okay. And it can actually be even better if right now you just let go of everything. So would you please allow us both to be happier, and you go through a narrative, which if you want to go down that road, I do teach in far greater depth in the psychophysio-energetic alignment of changing energies and emotions package, and the mind changes set in the boot camp, where you'll actually see me working with high-end clients such as sexual abuse victims, drug addicts, alcoholics and stuff, and getting what appear miraculous results using these exact techniques. And then you can see how it pans out, because I haven't written a specific script for the inner child, because that's effectively the structure. You just use the information they've given you, and the metaphor is to get them to feel physically that you will see that they will hold that cushion. They will, if they've not got to snory sleep point by this. And generally speaking, the clients that fall into this victim area that we've kind of referred to tend to still be awake at this point, because the little child won't trust anything, is on edge all the time. The computer program won't let them. But the moment you've done the inner child bit, when they're broken down lightly in tears, which I don't class as being an abreaction, because I class that as a natural reaction, a natural cathartic emotional release of letting go of all that self-blame, shame, guilt and regret they've been carrying around, and coming to a realization that they no longer need it in their life because they're still here as an adult, and that the little them inside now can feel loved and paid attention to, and that it's all right to carry on. At that point then, quite often, if you repeat your staircase induction again, well, not induction, deepener as it were, after they've had a bit of time to cry and you passed them some tissues and stuff, they will very rapidly not only will become hypnotized, re-enter trance, if you want to think of it that way, but actually go into a genuine sleep, because the emotional energy drained out of them of releasing all that baggage will make them feel genuinely tired. So at the end of the session, they will have had a bit of a kip. They just took a different route to get there. And when they wake up, they'll feel they've experienced the magic wand of hypnosis we spoke about. So it's all got a good ethical intent at the end. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. No, it'll make more sense when you see me go through it in the boot camp. But as I say, that's only for certain clients. And to be honest, I'll be honest with you, it's very rare I take on those type of clients now. You know why? Because it is emotionally gut-wrenching to read the stuff in their questionnaires, or to sit with them. You can feel it's massively beneficial to them, and it's massively rewarding when they've offloaded it, and at the end you can see like a physical difference in them, and their eyes are like lit up like diamonds, and you can tell they look like different people almost. But that's not for me. I don't want to spend my life every day doing that. Anyone who does decide to do that, hats off to you. I've done it with great success, but if you're going to do that, make sure you don't book in too many clients. Make sure you pay some attention to yourself. Otherwise, you'll get therapist burnout because you're taking on everyone else's shit and some of the stuff. Yeah, you get the idea. I tend to focus on habits, addictions, fears, phobias, confidence issues, which ironically are also the things that there's far more easier work to attract and more money to be made from. So we'll talk about tomorrow. Then we repeat the pain and pleasure rewiring type metaphor, but the entire word is script for that. You know what the principle is, because I've already explained it to you numerous times, but the wording for doing that in a non-specific manner is in the script that I've given you access to. And if you want to make it specific, when you're talking about painful things, you relate it to the information they gave in the questionnaire that's painful and negative. And when you're talking about pleasurable things, you relate it to the positive things in their questionnaire. Yeah? So, you know, it's almost as if when X, Y, Z occurs, you feel this, 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 and reel off, in their words, what they wrote down. Because it will have a genuine thoughts, feelings, memories, and emotions attached to it that will give the pleasure more pleasure and the pain more pain energy. The next step is to anchor. Don't worry, we're going to overrun 5 or 10 minutes. I apologise for that, but I'll stick with you. We anchor great feelings, positive feelings. We stack anchors now, we call it in NLP. We tell them that in a few moments' time, I want them to think of that time in their life, and we take all the good stuff they've put down. And if there's not that much good stuff there, or we need more, we can use the phrase, it's almost as if. So it's almost as if, it's like you've just won the national lottery. It's almost as if you've achieved X, Y. You can make shit up, but you have to put almost as if in front. It's more powerful if you've got something they said genuinely happened in their life. I hope that makes sense. It's already got linked memories, thoughts, feelings, emotions, and positivity. But you can get them to visualise and press their finger and thumb together and go, press your finger and thumb together. Well, it's almost as if you imagine in your mind's eye now, seeing a spider that once in the past would bother you, that in actual fact, when you see the spider, you laugh so much like that time when you went to see your favourite comedian, which is often a thing you can ask them if you want at the start of the session, who's the favourite comedian? Your favourite comedian, Lee Evans. And just press your finger and thumb together. Remember those times you laughed so much and you felt calm, relaxed and confident. Fantastic, and just let that go, release your finger and thumb. And now this time imagine that you see the spider that used to bother you or worry you, and not only do you start to smile and laugh because it instantly reminds you, pattern matching we spoke about, of your favourite comedian making you laugh so much, but it reminds you of that time you felt on top of the world and fantastic and invincible because you just passed your driving test. And notice how invincible you feel and completely calm and relaxed in that imagery of seeing the spider in the future. And you stack a load of things, maybe half a dozen, so when they press the finger and thumb together, they feel that in every nerve, fibre, tissue and muscle in their body, from the tips of the toes to the tips of the fingers, flooding the body in a positive, calm, safe and secure manner, like an invisible force field shield of invulnerability that enables them to become the perfect them. And then we tell them that any time in the future, if ever they should have any, say it was weight loss, any cravings, all they would need to do is press the finger and thumb together. If it was alcohol or drugs, if you ever feel any thoughts or cravings, just press your finger and thumb together. Or whatever it is, you know, if you see a spider and for any reason you do have a sudden flicker, which you shouldn't, but if you did, press your finger and thumb together and you know that instantly you're flooded with all those positive thoughts, feelings, energies and emotions, your invisible shield of invulnerabilities there, you feel fantastic, and it triggers off the anchored responses that have been anchored to genuine things that they've got genuine memories, thoughts, feelings and emotions of, thus they're more powerful to them. And the way the script's worded, Lo, it is such that you don't need to add in what they've said in their questionnaire if you don't want to. You can just read the script, and there's bits where it says, imagine a time in your life when X, Y, Z. It's a bit descriptive, and it leaves them to fill in the blank for themselves, so they'll still make it completely personal feeling to them and specific and tailor-made for them in a way that's right for them and only them, with the way I worded the script. So this is beyond so-called scriptnosis. This is a personal, tailored session each and every time, even when all you do is read the script, which other scriptnosis doesn't offer. We then use the major post-hypnotic suggestion that from this moment forward, they'll awaken each morning with an inner warm glow of confidence, a renewed optimism to life, a more positive attitude to get things done. We'll find that in every breath they take, every noise they hear, every thought they think, and every stimulus from everyday life, even ones that in the past would have been deemed stressful or scary, will actually serve as a sign and a signal to help them be completely calm, relaxed, and in control in all positive ways, feeling really good inside, and that they'll have an overwhelming desire every day for the next 28 days, just before they go to bed at night, to play the audio MP3 track that you will give them, that I will give you. And you will play that in the manner I will explain to you afterwards, so that you can just continue to go to sleep and wake up in the morning like your batteries of positivity have been charged. That's basically, and it will be 100 times more effective than if I was there with you in the room. So that means that when we give them the backup audio MP3 and they listen to it every day for the next 28 days, the lunar cycle, I've already spoke about that and the power of it, that is like they're actually not just having one session with you, they're having another 28 sessions with you. So actually you're arguably giving them 29 sessions, it's just it only takes up an hour to an hour and a half maximum of your physical time. And that's why complete mind therapy, when it's done right, is so successful, because actually they're getting 29 sessions, arguably. But they don't perceive it that way, because obviously the whole advertising is, I'm so confident and good at what I do, I cure you in an hour. Well, you can't say cured, but you know, I obliterate those things that once bothered you in an hour. And as you'll know when you listen to the audio MP3, the script I've written and owned to perfection, if you deliver it with the same voice tones and at the speed that I do, which is all very important, then it will take you roughly between 49 to 53 minutes to deliver. That leaves you 7 minutes to find out their name and what their family normally call them. And then you do maybe your bookend 0 to 10 thing at the beginning, and eyes follow thumb. In total, that's an hour and 10 of therapeutic action. 5 minutes to get any more money that's required. By the time you've got them out and you have a bit of a wind down, it's certainly an hour and a half of your time, although I wouldn't book another client in straight away. Why would you when you're charging a top fee? The less clients you see, the better. Just make sure they're paying enough, that you're living the lifestyle you want to. The less clients you see, the better you are as a therapist. Because A, you're charging more, making more money. You don't have to take on the shit clients, so your success rate's increased. Your social proof gets increased. Your prestige and everything else that makes it work increases. And also it means that you give, your attitude, your feeling is better. It's better when you don't have to see client after client after client to pay the bills. It's better when you are charging enough so that you are in that elite 5% of the hypnotic industry, that in this crisis, that we're in this COVID crisis, lots of people, yeah, they're just starting to get to grips with online sessions, which I'll talk about tomorrow. But even then, they don't know how to market them properly, so they're struggling. They're making less than they were before when they couldn't afford to eat properly. Most people spend 40 years of their working life working at least 40 hours a week and then retire on about 40% of the income they couldn't afford to live on in the first place. And that's not living. Living is financial freedom. Living is being able to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, wherever you want, without incurring a single penny in debt, as long as you're not breaking any laws. Obviously, there's certain contextual issues at the moment with the COVID coronavirus thing. And I don't wish to brag, but I am going to do. I'm not giving a shit about this whole lockdown. If I don't do any work, any more shows ever again, doesn't matter. If I never see another therapy client on Zoom or in person ever again, doesn't matter. If this was the last seminar I ever did online, it wouldn't matter, because my multiple streams of passive income are set up so well that I earn more doing fuck all while I'm asleep at night than most therapists will ever dream of doing, unless they get off their ass and start learning about the important things: marketing, advertising, publicity and promotion, and creating multiple streams of passive income, which I will talk about tomorrow, but which I massively expanded on in the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp with complete blueprints, my millionaire plan in there. Well, let's just say it's exactly how I bought my own home outright for cash before I was 30. It tells you exactly how I did it, and you can do it if you follow. If you follow a formula that works, as long as you do it right, it will continue to work. The problem is that people that start to tweak things, take them away and think, I'll be clever and I'll add this to it. Don't. If you take the complete mind therapy script and tweak a single word of it, other than the examples I've given you where it's designed to be done that way, the chances are it won't work for you as often as it will, which is pretty much 100% of the time, if you use it as per the script that I've given you, in the manner that it's written, using the voice tones and speed of delivery that you'll hear me using on the audio MP3 that I've given you. So you can print out the script, listen to the audio, and read the script at the same time, so you can learn when your voice has to slow down, when it has to speed up because of incitement and empowerment, or when it has to drag out because they're going deeper and deeper to sleep. You can learn by reading the script and listening to the audio at the same time. That's why I've given you them. There's another reason as well. And if you want to be lazy, you can always use the audio MP3 that I've given you. And at the end of the session, when you give the post-hypnotic, you can say, each day you'll have an overwhelming desire to listen to the audio MP3 that I give you. And you will hear upon it the sound of my colleague, Jonathan Royle. And each and every time you hear it, it will be 100 times as effective as if I was there with you in the room. If you can't be arsed recording the script yourself, by all means, use the MP3 I've given you. As long as you tell them in the post-hypnotic it's going to be as good as if you were there, it will be. I know people that are still doing that to this day because they're that fucking lazy. They can't get the free Audacity software, sit there after they've listened to my recording and learn the speed at which to deliver it, and then record it themselves and overlay it over some copyright-free music. Plenty of which is inside the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp. But you could do that. And then you awaken them from trance, arguably. And you say to them, in a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 10. On the count of 10, and then only then you'll instantly be wide awake. If they're hypnotized, they will open their eyes on the count of 10. If they're not, when you get to the count of 10, you may have to repeat it and shout a bit. Wakey, wakey, rise and shine, you're back in the room. Your hands a bit. So that they come round, and it's as though you're reacting as though they were in a really deep state of hypnosis. So you frame it that way so they believe it. Sometimes they'll go, oh, I think I went to sleep. And you go, no, 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 don't worry. You didn't. It just seems a lot like sleep when you're deeply, deeply, deeply hypnotized. I play with the misconceptions because it gets a better end result. They feel they've had the magic wand. It gives them an excuse, the permission to leave it all behind. So that is the structure of the complete mind therapy session. As for the wording, it's in the script. There are places you can personalize it, yes. So when you're doing the pain and pleasure, use your common sense to refer to the stuff that's in here. And maybe when you're saying to them, you know, now imagine in your mind's eye on the television set, an image of yourself in the past. You might go see an image of yourself in the past when this issue that used to bother you began when you were 23 years old. Now, they've never told you they were 23, but you've taken their date of birth answer and the answer to the fact of how many years they've had the issue, and you do the maths and you work it out and you know roughly what it is, and you say you were around roughly this age. Imagine it in your mind's eye. And part of their conscious mind, if it's still at that point got any involvement, it probably won't have. Wait till we go, what the fuck's going on? I never told them that. Causes sensory overload, confusion, disorientation, particularly with rapid induction techniques, but generally as well, is a great way of critical faculty bypass. So yeah, in terms of complete mind therapy, tomorrow, can we have overrun? Tomorrow I will teach you, first of all, complete unconscious reprogramming of emotional disease and distress, cured, which means then you can save yourself ever having to spend a fortune on any of these idiomotor response unconscious communication courses, because you'll know how to do all of them and how to do them better than the people who are teaching them for a fucking ridiculous amount of money, frankly, now. We will show you how to create multiple streams of passive income and how to link it all together with effective marketing, advertising, publicity and promotion to get clients who are in the right frame of mind. We'll cover insurance, diplomas, ab reactions and health and safety. Or ab reactions briefly, effectively, if somebody does start crying or shaking or shivering, you immediately address the issue and say, just to let that image that was bothering you right then, implying that it's already passing, that was implying it was in the past, that was bothering you right then, fade away even more. In playing it, it's already fading away. Fade away even more in a way that feels right for you, so you can come back to the here and now and feel calm, safe and secure. And just tell me when you've done that and you feel completely calm. And just give them a bit of time. They're not going to die. Not unless they have a heart attack or something, and that's nothing to do with hypnosis. But that is why I do recommend that all hypnotherapists and stage hypnotists should, at the very least, do a first aid at work. That's the UK regulations. First aid at work level first aid course, so that they would know what to do if somebody blacked out, passed out, had a heart attack, first aid wise, prior to getting proper professional medical attention there. Obviously, it'd be a bit difficult to administer any of that over Zoom. I'm talking about physical events here. With online events, again, you would already know where they lived. You'd want all their contact details still, even though you're not physically going to them or them coming to you, so that if in any event anything was to occur, you can always call authorities in their local area to have assistance sent to them. It's highly unlikely to occur, but you've got to plan for the potential worst. That's part of health and safety. In terms of health and safety for therapy, the gastric band hypnotherapy package and the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp, although it's about the gastric band hypnosis approach, that's not the benefit of it. The benefit is Dr. Wilf Archer, who is the most highly qualified, the only therapist I know with 2 Royal Charters for health and safety related expertise, and he's put together a package exclusive to the bootcamp or the gastric band, basically exclusive to me. And he was the health and safety advisor to the General Hypnotherapy Register, or was it the National Council of Hypnotherapy? No, it was the General Hypnotherapy Register till he retired. But he didn't even give them this package. This is the most comprehensive health and safety training for therapists, and also in the bootcamp is the most high-level safety training for stage and street hypnotists that anyone in the world's ever produced by myself and a whole bunch of other people, including Stuart Harrison Cassells, who's on this call right now, who hopefully, if he's kind enough, tomorrow will be speaking to you towards the middle of the second session, a little bit about a proven website marketing plan that can position you as the authority figure in your niches and bring you more clients than perhaps you ever dreamed possible, without paying fortunes for all this Google AdWord nonsense and stuff. No, I live in a world where the less you spend, but the more you can make. Both of them are important, because when you can make far more profits by spending less, as long as what you're spending just a little bit on is producing a result. If you spend £1 on advertising, you want it to produce £10 profit. If you're not getting at least £10 profit for every £1 you spend, you're doing it fucking wrong. I'm going to show you ways of marketing tomorrow that cost nothing except a little bit of your time, but not a lot of it. And in fact, you can outsource a lot of it on autopilot and pay Wing Wang Chong. I don't know if that's what he's called, and I'm sorry if there's anyone here from China, but he'll probably tell me on the call centre call when I'm booking his services that his name's Richard. But Mr. Wing Wang Chong, or whatever he's called, that I've got through Fiverr.com or peopleperhour.com or similar websites, may for, you know, $5, about £4 UK sterling, it's not even close to national minimum wage, do all the boring stuff. But other than that, you know, that just costs time, not money. But if we fork out, say, $40 a week to get him to do 10 hours work, it's only cost us, in that example, about £40 sterling, $50. And if we're charging even just £250 sterling for a client, we only need one client to be £200 in profit. However, if you've got him doing what I'm going to teach you for 10 hours, and he's genuinely doing it, and you'll know that by the results you're getting, you should be getting at least a client per hour's work input he does, which means you should be getting at least 10 lots of 250 quid, £2.5 grand. And you're still only paying out 40 quid or $50. Ooh. Does that sound more like the kind of return on investment you should be getting for your advertising? Yes. Then be aware of this. You have to start being something of a cunt. I don't mean in everyday life to people, but you have to start being something of a cunt in the sense of not giving a shit what other therapists think about you. They're the biggest thing that will hold you back. Don't give a shit what other stage hypnotists think about you if stage is your area. The biggest thing that stops therapists or stage hypnotists being truly successful, achieving their full potential, is believing that other therapists might be doing better than them. You know what? Maybe. Some of them probably will be. Who gives a shit? Don't dwell on it. But the fact is, the majority of them are Billy bullshitters, including some of the famous names. I once got asked, why do I no longer have a limited company? Okay, which is that'd be a PLC, not PLC, an incorporated company in America. In England, it's a limited company. Why do I not have one if I'm so successful? Because people can check out that I did, but I shut it down. You know why? Because it's too easy for people to find out what you are earning or what you're not earning and where you are putting your assets if you've got a limited company, certainly in England. You can type in a limited company name and go on beta.company's house in England and see people's financial accounts for their limited company. Shows you the profit, loss, what assets they have, what they don't. And you know what, when you do that with certain television hypnotists, life coaches, and transformational, motivational people, in England at least, with Company's House, let's just say some people do not own all the flash cars they purport to have. Some of them are more leased, so they're tax deductible, company expense and things. There's ways of looking successful that aren't. So don't be misled by the shininess of what people are apparently making. We live in a brave new world. And unfortunately, I don't mean that in an Aldous Huxley kind of way, although we are moving into what he put in his book and what George Orwell did in 1984 in some scaring fashions. And you need to be aware of that so that when shit like this happens, you've got your multiple streams of passive income in place and you're ready to do online sessions like we'll give you the keys to tomorrow and how to do group sessions as well. But it's a brave new world in so much as there was a time when to really be making the money in this industry, you had to be the guy who'd signed a book deal with a Random House, let's say, as a random publishing company, to get your book out on the shelves and to break into getting on TV, to get your name known, so you could sell your multiple streams of passive income, merchandise and products. The world's so much different now because of the internet. And because companies like Amazon enable you to self-publish your own books with no investment up front. You can have your book on sale on all major book sites in the world, where they'll actually advertise it in such a way that it gets sold because it's in their interest to sell it because they make a profit out of it, but only when it sells, where you make money every time the book sells. And let me tell you, each time the book sells, you will actually make more money per copy than people like Paul McKenna make from each copy of the books they sell. Now, admittedly, Paul's an enigma in the sense he's sold multi-millions of books. But some of the so-called famous self-help authors that aren't quite, Paul's the biggest selling British self-help non-fiction author in England. But there's a lot of them that appear mega successful and they're selling a lot of books, but they may be getting pennies per copy profit after all the taxes and costs. Whereas when you self-publish, you could be making £2, £3, £4 from each book that's sold for like 8 or 9 quid. You could make double, triple, quadruple what you would through a proper publishing house in this day and age. And I'm going to talk to you tomorrow about how to create those multiple streams of passive income so you can get started, create some income streams. As I say, we will also cover cured, group sessions, marketing, safety stuff. Hopefully we'll get Stuart to explain his website thing. And yeah, I'll be here about 20 to 8 again, early, ready for an 8 o'clock start tomorrow for day 4. Videos of today will be in the group by about 2 o'clock United Kingdom time tomorrow. And any questions, as I always say, please put them in the group and I'll answer them either tomorrow live or in the group. I reiterate again, the bootcamp's 197 United Kingdom sterling until midnight on Wednesday. Then you'll never get that chance again. It is normally $5,000. That's not bullshit. People are in the group. Jerome Johnson will tell you I know. And I know Keith Anthony Taylor will tell you that it's not bullshit for me to say that in that boot camp, to buy everything individually, it would cost you over $10,000. And actually, you would be getting good value for money then anyway, because you would learn, you'd learn more than you would have anyone on the planet, even if you went and spent £1 million with them. But the beautiful thing is, you don't have to. £197 sterling till midnight on Wednesday. Because I want you to succeed. I'm being selfish here, to be selfless. Because you get the boot camp at a ridiculous knockdown price during this crisis. You go away, you implement some of the stuff from this course, and also from the boot camp, baby, yeah? You get really successful. When somebody comes and asks you how you got that successful, I know a large percentage of you will say, you know what really made the difference was stuff from the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp or training with Jonathan Royal. And that will just help me sell even more courses. And how much work will I have to do for that? Nothing, because it's all set up on autopilot. People will just go to a website, enter their PayPal or bank details, and suddenly I'll be £700 or thousands of dollars, because they won't get the discount, richer. And you know what? So will you, because tomorrow I'll tell you how you can also be earning 50% commissions on any sales of the bootcamp you generate for me in the future once you become a member. I'll leave you with that thought. As I say, I'll be in the group in about 10 minutes or so when I've got my pajamas on, gone downstairs and got another nice cold drink. Feedback on today and the past couple of days will be appreciated in the group. It makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. Thank you very much indeed. See you all tomorrow. Bye for now.